Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, based on feedback from YouTube's dashboard, it looks like we are live. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Another episode of the Mining Market Signal. I'm your host, Seth, and well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much initially for hitting that thumbs up, for clicking subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and for sharing this video while we're live so that we can have more interaction in the comment section, guys. Really, you are the reason that I make this media, and it's so much fun to be able to interact live while we do this show. In this show, while we're live, of course, I respond to your comments. We try not to take an overly long time, but I respond to your comments. You have to be subscribed to the channel in order to comment, and so if you're not subscribed, you're unable to do so. Definitely hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. You'll be able to join in on the fun while we're live. Don't require super chats. We're not that size channel where it's like, oh nope, I'll only respond to somebody if they super chat, if they throw money at me. Nah, that's not us. That's not this show right now. Let me jump out of the way and show you the Fear and Greed Index, though. Fear and Greed Index for today shows a score of 79. So, as per usual, we're living in a state of extreme greed in cryptocurrency markets. We're now at the point where it's been one full month of us living in either greed or extreme greed. At this point, with a score of over 65. But this last couple of days, score of 79 is definitely in the category, the territory of extreme greed. Let's take a look at the last 3 months, though, and we're still at that point where you can see over the last 3 months, it wasn't this way before. Nearing the $50,000 mark for Bitcoin definitely improved people's morale, right? Definitely got people thinking in a more greedy way. And if you've watched the show before, you've heard me say before that I view this as a counter indicator, meaning that while everybody else is feeling extremely greedy, it makes me extremely cautious and gets me thinking about my strategy for how I'll average out of my positions. First off, let me say hello to our commenters. Got Golden Wolf giving the thumbs up and Kevin Hawthorne saying good evening all the way from Lakeland, Florida. Drady also says, ask a question about another token that is not mineable, but I will bring it up when we go over our portfolios later on. I think it's worth adding that and taking a look at its performance since our May 26th paper trade snapshot, where we have all the rest of our coins logged as well. I think context matters, so being able to show every single coin in that light from the time that we added every single entry until now, I think is going to make a big difference. When we go over our portfolios, by the way, the reason that we chose the date that we did was because of this part of the fear and greed cycle. So we put we put in a paper trade well before June, right? Back in May 26th of this year, when the market was still kind of suffering and not really showing signs of recovery yet, because we wanted to be able to see how it recovered. Some coins, when Bitcoin dips, they dip along with it, but they don't recover when Bitcoin recovers. Others tend to do multiples of Bitcoin when they experience a downward dip and then a recovery alongside Bitcoin. We just wanted to track as much as we could, so put it into a portfolio earlier on. Again, this being a counter indicator, I need to say for the record that, well, in case you're wondering, in case you're asking, or tuning in, you don't know the channel, you don't know the show. If you're wondering, hey Seth, are you giving legal, financial, or business advice? No. No, I am not. I'm definitely not doing that. And if you retained my services, you would definitely know for sure that I'm giving you legal, financial, or business advice. That's not the case here on YouTube. We're just going over a portfolio, taking a look at perfectly public numbers, and just, yeah, figuring out what makes sense for us individually. Again, guys, you can say anything you want in the comments section. I'm not necessarily going to repeat it if what you're doing is trolling, or if what you're doing is just trying to get a rise out of me. If you're not actually here to add value to the conversation, I might ignore you. Sorry, not sorry. That's how it goes. If it were your channel, I would expect the same from you. So let's jump back into our news for the day. Right now, that's the fear and greed cycle, score of 79. But let's pay attention to what actually affects the markets, right? These are sentiment-driven markets, meaning that people react to news. People buy emotionally, people sell emotionally. And crypto is no different, right? If you try to rile people up about a project that is claiming to have smart contracts enabled, and they think, okay, well, maybe if I hold a little bit longer, we'll experience a pump and then I can take some profits later on. Well, you can manipulate them for sure. And there are many projects that do that. Let's pay attention to what's going on in the news cycle right now that may be causing people to experience this greed and may be affecting some of the price action, because I promise you, this is almost more important than any other piece of fundamental information that we could know about a given cryptocurrency or blockchain project. So jumping straight into it, we've got an SEC warning. This is brand new. I didn't even get a chance to highlight this one, but an SEC warning about crypto and digital asset scams in their investor alert. So when we've got an investor alert coming out from the SEC, for me, again, this is just me. I view this as another counterindicator. When the SEC is afraid, when the banking institutions are afraid, I get kind of greedy. I get kind of excited about that. I don't want to live by fear. When they claim to be afraid, it's because there's some kind of a threat, in my opinion, some kind of a threat to their business model or their power, right? Their control surface, right? Their control, their ability to control and manipulate markets. So I view any kind of a fear-oriented or FUD-oriented article coming out of any of these institutions as bullish. That's just for me. You tell me though in the comment section. We've got several people watching now. Do you view this as bullish as well? Guys, I also want to say hello to our newest commenters, Dre D and Crypto Bedell. Thanks for being here live, guys. Really appreciate you hitting that thumbs up and sharing the link so that we have more live commenters. Kyle Rosa is here as well. But yeah, guys, I view this kind of media, these kinds of publications, I view this as bullish because they're basically admitting that they're afraid. They're basically admitting that everything we've been building on for the last 12 years since Bitcoin launched, that it's working, right? Basically, there's a real risk of their financial systems failing because the 100% of the available coin supply of Bitcoin, for example, is out in the wild in the hands of individual investors or institutions, but it's not centralized in the hands of just one money printing entity, right? Or even one money printing smart contract or whatever else. So this is very, very bullish. Got Kevin Lopez saying, "You're Albert Brown saying, peace, love, and 10x cryptos is my big hello, fam." Awesome. John Germain also says, "Me too, listening." Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing that link. But this is a new warning from the SEC about digital asset scams in their investor alert. Let's take a quick look at this, though. And one of their quotes is, "Fraudsters continue to exploit the rising popularity of digital assets to lure retail investors into scams, often leading to devastating losses. If you're considering a digital asset-related investment, take the time to understand how the investment works and to evaluate its risks. Look for warning signs that it may be a scam." And then they say five key red flag recommendations, and then ways to protect yourself from being scammed by them. We've got guaranteed high investment returns. This is starting to sound a little bit familiar, right? Do you remember Nerd Girl and I on the channel, how we went over something that she and Truth Raider created? Hey, we got Sam in the comment section saying hello, throwing the peace sign up. Brad Johns asking how there are so few viewers. Hey, don't ask me. I just broadcast here. But if you guys don't mind sharing that link, it does help out. Really does assist in letting the algorithm know that this is content that you value and that other people might like. So definitely appreciate you clicking all those buttons. But if you recall, when Nerd Girl and I did our Monday show together, that we went over, or our Saturday show, I should say, the Saturday Scambuster show, Saturday Scambusters Revival, I guess, we went over a 12-step method. No, it's not the 12 steps of AA, but the 12-step method for you to avoid being scammed. Again, big shout out to Truth Raider, who put some foundation work into those 12 steps. And one of them was just this: bombastic claims of high returns. If that is the only substance to a project, there could be some danger. Maybe it's not necessarily the case, because most cryptocurrencies have done phenomenally well since the day that they launched until today. Brad Wyatt is asking a very important question in our comment section. I wish I could just highlight this on screen right now. But Brad is asking, are you buying $30 worth of Bitcoin tomorrow for El Salvador? We'll get to that. We'll get to that in just a minute. It's a very important question, and I'm so glad that you asked, Brad. Thank you. Ski is asking, I'm new to crypto. Awesome. Handyman is in the house and Subby smashing the like. Thank you for that. But Ski says I'm new to crypto. Well, Ski asked questions, and for anybody who's in the live stream right now, but also able to comment live, ask good questions. The community here is very supportive. We're not going to tear you down or tell you that you're asking a silly question or that you're dumb for not knowing something. We're here to support you. That's why I encourage the live comments the way that we do. That's why you don't have to buy my attention in the live comments. All you have to do is be respectful. I'll be respectful back to you, and we'll keep that respect and that goodwill going in the live comment section. We'll answer your questions as best we can without giving, the definition of financial advice or whatever. We want to help you out. We want to help noobs especially, right? The world is full of noobs, crypto noobs. We got to help out, get everybody off zero and help the world move towards cryptocurrency. Because again, we're seeing a little bit of a little example of this in El Salvador, but it's not perfect. We'll see. Yeah, we'll definitely see. Albert Brown is saying, solidarity with El Salvador. I'm buying $30 of Bitcoin tomorrow. Cool. Very, very cool. This is a very important thing to hear people talk about, and I'll get to answering that question for myself in just a little while. But going on with the SEC's little guidelines here for how not to get scammed. They say, watch out for guaranteed high investment returns with little or no risks. These are a classic warning sign of fraud. And then, of course, unlicensed and unregistered sellers. Check out the background, including license and registration status of anyone offering you an investment in securities. Guys, you ever notice how every single live stream I flash this? Yeah, there's a reason for that. That's because here on YouTube, in years past, especially the previous bull run, YouTubers like myself who had larger audiences or even mid-size audiences, they talked about certain projects in a way that came across as sort of as soliciting an unregistered security, and it wound up really hurting them. The SEC literally went after YouTubers for having a broadcast like this and not being careful about the way they talked about cryptocurrencies. And instead of just saying like, hey, such and such project gave me, the 50,000x returns. If you're not careful about the way that you frame that for your audience, well, the SEC can get very upset, and they work with the people who carry the guns and put people in jail. So you got to be really careful about it. That's just how it is. Unless, of course, you've taken off to another country, or you have private security, and in that case, maybe your biggest concern is internationally, some kind of international wing of law enforcement like Interpol, or worst case scenario like the FBI or the CIA, right, coming after you, which is entirely possible, but you wouldn't make news if that happened. I'm not worried about that, but I am worried about the SEC kind of getting on my case. So John Ross says, in USA, we the people carry the guns. Hey, you know what? I really appreciate you mentioning that. I know a lot of my neighbors do, and I really appreciate that. I don't know if they would stick up for me for something that I think is important when it counts. So we'll see. Anyone can get the drop on you. So I don't get confused about my ability to always keep evildoers at bay. Right? I'm not John Wick. I'm not pretending to be John Wick here, nor is John Wick always justified in his measures. So whatever. I think sometimes we get it twisted. You still have to try to get along in the world as it is, not in the way that we want it to be. Not all the time. But yeah, unlicensed and unregistered sellers. This is a big deal for the SEC. They're very much focused on this. And the legislation of the infrastructure bill showed that there was an interest in trying to categorize certain people as brokers. And I think that there's going to be more official language in terms of legislation in the United States that tries to clarify who is and who isn't a licensed or registered seller or broker within cryptocurrency. And unfortunately, they may try to make that retroactive. So I'm going to be paying attention to this pretty closely. Again, it still does signal to me that they're scared and that really what we're doing is working. But I'm also, I live in this world here in the United States right now, so I don't want to do anything that is like, super messed up. I'm not out to actively incite like aggression, so to speak. Civil disobedience, sure, right? Passive resistance, sure, right? But I'm no Gandhi either, right? Like none of us is. Holding cryptocurrencies already is an act of defiance. So we're already there, right? We're already, in a way, being disobedient in a civil manner. We have to keep it up and do our best to maintain civility while we go through these changes. It's just, that's the way we make the changes. Gandhi was right. He had it right. He did. So I think we can take some great inspiration from that. But their next guideline is skyrocketing account values. Depictions of investment accounts rapidly increasing in value and providing large returns are often fake. And they're not wrong. This can be faked. I can right click and inspect the source code for a web page, and I can edit it right inside of any kind of Chromium based browser or Firefox based browser. And then I can take a screenshot and make it look like anything I want. In fact, I could live stream right now and show that. Do you want me to do that sometime? I may not be able to do it tonight, but do you want me to? Because I could. You know what? For kicks, let's do it right now. Let's go ahead and change the SEC's own words. All right. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit the inspect menu here in the Chromium browser. This is not Google Chrome, but it's a Chrome based browser. Now I'm going to use the picker right there and I'm going to tell it so depictions of investment accounts being fake. It's right there. There's the source code for this page. And I'm going to hit that 3-button menu and I'm going to edit exactly what it says. Except sets account. It is always real. There we go. All right. And now I'll close that up. And when we go back to our regular view, I'll grab my highlighter right here just to make it a little more obvious what I'm doing. Bada boom, Bob's your uncle. Not bad, yeah? Hey, can I get some applause, guys? Well, thumbs up in the chat. Was that convincing? I mean, if you didn't see me actually editing this website, you would think that the SEC said that, right? Depictions of investment accounts rapidly increasing in value and providing large returns are often fake, except Seth's account, it is always real. It's really that easy. It really is. And Hexacorn also says Brave browser as well. I'm actually not using Brave browser. I'm using ungoogled Chromium. I'm not a big fan of Brave. I'm not a big fan of the basic attention token. I'm not a big fan of Uphold Payments and the way that they implemented KYC. I'm not a big fan of, well, many projects like that. Well, we'll just say I'm using ungoogled Chromium for my purposes. It's not everyone's cup of tea, right? It's an acquired taste. You have to be really okay with customizing a web browser, but I am. So that's what I use. But yeah, it is based on the Chromium engine though. So yeah, there you go, guys. It really is that simple. And this does happen very often in the so-called influencer space. So you see this is a bit of an issue in this space. But the next point is if an investment opportunity sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Remember that the potential for high investment returns usually involves high risk. Now, and here's where, obviously, again, they're concerned. But it's not necessarily a perfect one-to-one. In cryptocurrency, yeah, there's high risk. People took super high risks when Ethereum launched years ago, but they got 2,000 ETH in exchange for one full Bitcoin. And if they held those, they're doing extremely well right now, right? 2,000 ETH times the current 3,900, give or take some change, $3,900 price of Ethereum, they're doing just fine. They're very happy with that trade. Most people who are into Ethereum right now or have great exposure to Ethereum right now, they don't regret that. But early on, it didn't seem like anything. It was a huge risk. So the SEC is not wrong. Several other projects also show at the very beginning not a lot of promise. And then they grow into being something that then validates that it could have been worth it. Dave's in the comments saying, hey, buddy, good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. I know sometimes it's a struggle to get here on time or to be here at all. Really, anybody who's here for the live stream, definitely appreciate you. Wow, I got Albert Brown saying that he thinks that Hex is definitely a rug pull and the next BitConnect. I don't know if I agree with that. But I hear what you're saying, and I see where you would be very concerned, right? It's one of those things that from the outside could definitely look that way and could be one of the projects that the SEC is talking about, but they're not singling out any one project, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to either. So I respect that you have an opinion about it, but I don't necessarily share it. I'm just going to say that I think that, yeah, high risk, high reward, but this isn't news. Penny stocks give high reward too, but you have to take a risk on a project, on a company that may be a total stinker. You don't know, right? You're going to help fund a new company that maybe doesn't have a snowball's chance in heck of actually succeeding. But then when it does, you make out like a bandit. We've got distant family members who've done this in the, I think, the medical technology sector and did phenomenally well, right? So it's pretty tough. Handyman says, I'm on the fence about Hex. Well, I'm pretty sure if you need some encouragement, I'm going to ask any Hexicans who are in the audience to please politely engage Handyman. Talk to Handyman about maybe why you think he should or shouldn't be involved in Hex. Anybody who's not feeling good about Hex, talk to Handyman about why you think maybe he shouldn't or might consider that he should be involved in Hex. I'm not going to go there tonight, but I think we got great community here in the live comments, and we can handle that together. So next little category here that they say is fake testimonials. Fraudsters sometimes pay actors to pose as ordinary people turned millionaires, social media influencers, and celebrities to tout an investment. Totally true. Totally 100% true. You can go to Fiverr right now and you can pay, there's actually a lady who she'll go in front of a green screen and she'll pose with a wig and do 2 different takes and then green screen herself next to herself to look like twins. And she'll say whatever you want. She'll say whatever you want for like $50 to $100. There's also Cameo, right? That's a service that allows you to literally hire sports and music celebrities to say anything you want for like $150. I mean, you can get Samuel L. Jackson, maybe not literally Samuel L. Jackson, but you can get actors that are at that level to say a script that you write for them for cash, right? I mean, they're capitalists. They still work for money. So there are services that'll let you pretty much get a celebrity to say almost anything you want. And for years within cryptocurrency, mostly we do it for the memes, right? We do it for the lulz. But there are some people who think that it's serious. Like the people who think that everything needs to be fact checked, for example. They take this stuff seriously. It's kind of crazy. It is. It's kind of crazy. Dave Jack says, but will they shake a baby for me, Seth? Bro, I don't know. I think that ship sailed, man. Hold it out over a balcony for you. I think those days are gone. I think there was only one celebrity that you might have been able to hire, but I've heard he's out of commission these days. Not working. Looks great though. Well preserved. Anyway, before I completely like blaspheme on the live stream live. This is the SEC's little thing, and I think they're not wrong with some of these points. You have to use your own common sense. You have to evaluate things for yourself. But I think they go really far out of their way to try to make everything sound like it could be a scam if there's ever good returns. But we know, having tracked the price of cryptocurrencies, that crypto has totally, like, head and shoulders. It's absolutely destroyed every other investment that has come along in traditional finance over the last 10 years. And then the last 5 years, right? Since the last bull run, there's really no comparing. Real estate, which is normally a phenomenal business to be involved in, even with the great prices right now, just doesn't compare to cryptocurrencies, not one bit. Gallo's in the comments saying, hola amigos. Hey, thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Yeah, so just saying, I think the SEC is maybe going a little bit too far. The next piece of news that I think is relevant is that tomorrow, guys, we are hours away from El Salvador airdropping $30 worth of Bitcoin onto every single adult citizen of their country. This is huge, right? This is millions of people receiving $30 worth of Bitcoin. Now, currently, we looked at it last time that I went live, and I apologize. I missed Saturday again. That's been kind of tough for me, guys. I really want to make sure that I dial in Saturdays so that I have a consistent 3 live streams per week. So that's been tough. I've heard from you last time that you wanted me to do Grand Theft Auto Crypto Story Hour, which I think is great. My kids were like, yeah, Dad, do it. Totally. You should do it. And then you guys were like, yeah, sure, do it. But I missed it on Saturday. Long weekend kind of made that a little more complicated with family and stuff. So let me know. Should I go a little bit earlier in the morning? Say like, Pacific time. Should I go a little more early in the morning on Saturday? Should I go a little bit later in the morning? Should I try to sandwich my broadcast somewhere between Serpent X Tech and Red Panda Mining? Should I just go for whatever? Should I try to stream to Twitch, do you think? Because it's video games. You tell me in the comments, and I want to be able to respond to what it is that you want to see. We will go over some of this stuff in that crypto story hour. So Dave says, do what the beard tells you. Bro, that's dangerous. It's really dangerous. Yeah, no. I don't think you like me when I do what the beard tells me. I'm just kidding, though. Seriously, Saturday, guys, I'm going to be going live, so you let me know what you'd like to see there. But El Salvador, there are mixed feelings there, guys. We always think of this as like, okay, well, we have these crypto goggles on, right? Bitcoin and larger blockchain and crypto goggles on. So we think that everything that has to do with Bitcoin being adopted anywhere will definitely be bullish, that it'll only be good. Some of the people in El Salvador don't feel that way, and I don't fault them for that. They have their reasons. And I think that Alex Gladstein did a really great breakdown of this on crypto Twitter earlier today. I wanted to read it, not word for word, but I wanted to go through it. It's a very long thread. I wanted to go through it because there's some precedent for why these people feel this way. And so, like, ironically, when these people feel bad about Bitcoin, everybody else views it as bullish. When these people are eventually feel good about Bitcoin, we're of course going to view that as bullish as well, because it's a rising tide for all of the rest of the cryptocurrency market cap. So I just thought it'd be really important for us to take a look at this really fast. And yeah, he says there will be more than 6 million Salvadorans. Most of them are afraid of the change. And almost 20 years ago, they went to dollarization, and it was rushed top down, right? Also brought up as like, oh no, it's just legal tender. You're not going to be forced to use it. But we know El Salvador now is a dollarized country where that's their currency. And when it started, that was not the case. So, I mean, you see this is not faked. These are actual people in El Salvador who are hanging these anti-Bitcoin signs. They have concerns about it being a means of surveillance for their people, at least on the one hand. Also a means to inflate the previous currency and potentially cheat the most vulnerable class of people, the lower middle class and the poor people of El Salvador. So because that happened when they went to the dollar from the El Salvadorian colon. So yeah, ironically, the Costa Rican colon, which was held onto, performed very well against the US dollar when we had our last economic meltdown in 2008. If you remember, the Costa Rican currency, it basically mopped the floor with the US dollar for a while. And over here in El Salvador, they were stuck with the US dollar. So these folks are a little bit concerned, especially with like the entire state of things, real estate and everything else. But Alex says, last week I attended the anti-Bitcoin law protest in El Salvador. These are photos that he took, apparently. The secretary of a union for judicial employees, she was against the law for many reasons, but one was that the last time the government changed the money system in 2001, it was bad for the lower classes. Hey, Next Era Gamer is in the chat saying, how's it going, chat? How are you, Seth? I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. He says dollarization was fairly unique in El Salvador's case. The country wasn't experiencing high inflation or any kind of economic crisis, but policymakers said it would help bring down interest rates and fuel the banking sector, which it did, but it had unintended consequences. And Gallo is saying, I read somewhere that 7 out of 10 El Salvadorians are against the Bitcoin law, but then again, I don't trust these surveys. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I struggle with knowing whether or not that's accurate as well. Straw polls, right? The Gallup polls here in the United States, they're often, a little bit dicey, right? You can never tell for sure. It's like, hey, well, where did you get this sample? Oh, well, we went to like one little event in New York City, and that represents the entire United States for sure, right? This one little event in New York City at Times Square where we surveyed 50 people. So, we just took for granted that people were traveling there, and they were from other sides of the country too. So, yeah, that represents everyone, right? Hard to get a representative sample for sure, absolutely. But I do believe that it could be maybe not a majority, but I do believe it's a significant percentage of El Salvadorians who at least have concerns. And the way that the law is worded is a bit misleading. Some people are worried that they will be forced to accept Bitcoin, and the law hasn't been changed to say that they won't. And they keep on asking about it, and the response is basically like, well, why do we need to change it? It's just, this is great. I have $30. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love this. And don't worry about it. But it might be forced to use it. And last week when we went live, we covered the Chivo wallet, which is the government's sanctioned wallet, the government-backed wallet in El Salvador. You and I both know that if the government runs that wallet, there's any number of things they can include in that wallet that give them a backdoor into people's seed phrases or private keys. Or even if they don't, they can just report the XPub key. right? There's any number of things they can do to help de-anonymize their users and be able to see every transaction that they do and control every aspect of their life by eliminating cash in El Salvador. So it could be actually a totalitarian nightmare. We don't know for sure. We're not totally certain. There's no way to know at this point whether or not it'll play out that way. And I think these people have valid concerns. But now Galo says, Chivo says goat in Spanish. Here's the thing, though. Chivo does not mean greatest of all time, right? Like, bruh. Dave Jack says there's a thin line. Let's see. Alex says this 2004 paper shows how dollarization had a negative impact on El Salvador's poor. And guys, this is even before the economic meltdown at the end of 2007 into 2008, and especially felt in the years of 2009 to 2011. That was, I think, when it was probably at its worst, right? Joblessness and basically the worst financial effects here in the United States anyway, the way that we felt them. So even well before that, 2004 in El Salvador, moving to the dollar really hurt them. It said the process had striking similarity in suddenness to this year's Bitcoin law. Just 39 days passed between the initial announcement and implementation. Guys, that's fast. That is really, really fast. You don't get away with that. I'm sorry. Even if you go to a state here in the United States that has only 6 million people in it, you don't get laws pushed through that fast. That's basically impossible. Dave Jack is saying, yeah, same here in Canada. I know you're referring to something else, but in Canada, it's also true. You don't get laws pushed through that fast. You do get initiatives that are that can be sort of promoted by certain figures. Trudeau is like on the warpath right now, right? Trying to get premiers on board with certain things. And he still has to go through the process, right? That's due process everywhere else. You have to be able to convince other people who are in power because there are checks and balances, right? You can't just say like, hey, it's executive decree or it's royal decree, and we will definitely do this thing. But in El Salvador, this will be the second time that they have done this sort of like executive decree type thing and just said, we're going to make this change and hold on, because money's going to change all over again. And it begs the question, why, right? Like there could be more to it as far as the motivation to move so quickly towards Bitcoin with a government issued wallet. But he says, at first, one might struggle to see how dollarization could be bad. Why wouldn't a country benefit from moving to a stronger currency? Well, he says that the results of the new change, the results of the change the first time was the exchange rate of 8.75 colones per dollar, right? The previous currency being valued at 8.75 versus our dollar. And then seeing that they couldn't get conversions done accurately. It's a bit like having a pure specie currency in a different place, right? Or just having pure precious metals. If you had to just give people nuggets of gold, for example, you would need to know that you had accurate scales with you everywhere to be sure that the person that you're transacting with, that they're not cheating you, and vice versa, right? So you'd have to have common scales with common weights and measures that everybody agrees on and that nobody can cheat. But in days when precious metals were used for currency, cheating was common because somebody would say, "Oh, I've got a 3-ounce measure here, or whatever it is. I've got a 15 gram measure here. It's a lot of gold, but I've got a 15 gram measure over here. Now, a little 15 gram weight. It's standardized to 15 grams, and you put it on a scale or a triple beam or whatever, and then the other person says like, oh wow, okay, I guess you've got a 15 gram measure, but you've hollowed out the core of your 15 gram measure and you filled it with lead, so it looks like a 15 gram measure, but you totally spiked the thing up to like 21 grams or something, or whatever the legally allowable variance is to help you get away with it. Like, oh well, it wasn't 15 grams, but it was only 16 and a half. Right, only 16 and a half. So it wasn't my fault that it was broken. The scales were broken, but my weight wasn't broken. Right, my measure wasn't broken. Like now in this situation, you've got people who sometimes don't have the education to quickly do the conversions in their head. And he says that at the time, 21% of El Salvadorians couldn't read or write, much less do conversions in their head. So they would fall prey to a system where what used to cost 7 colones might now be rounded up to $1. And instead of being 8.75, 7 colones to $1, it's 25% inflation. Totally hidden. Completely right in front of their faces, right? Because they don't know that it's being done, right? So it's sleight of hand. Like, oh, well, it was 7 colones yesterday, but here, $1. That's about 7 colones, right? Like, boom, here, give me the 7 colones. I'm sorry, I mean, give me $1. Same thing. And yeah, so these folks who needed to be protected most in a switchover, or educated, I should say, most, definitely had the biggest problem. Got some new comments coming in. Dave Jack says, why are you holding your weight like a cup or tea? Well, because it makes it more refined, bro. You got to put your pinky. It's like RGB. It makes it more awesome. Makes it more valuable, I should say. Make more hashes when you hold it like a cup of tea. Raven Boy Crypto's in the house saying, Seth, what are your thoughts on ZIL? Do you think it's worth to mine alongside ETH? Just on the face of it, I don't know. I think some pools might be better. I'm on a really big Polygon kick right now, guys, because of the cheap payouts. So for my part, if it helps decrease like friction and transaction fees, gas fees after the fact, then I don't care how much more I earn in ZIL. If I have to pay gas fees that eliminate my profit margin anyway. So I'm kind of a big fan of Polygon right now. But if you're getting your payouts already covered by the pool and you're paying out to a wallet that you know is inherently useful right away, or you're just going to hold there, then sure, obviously you do that. Let's see. Zotrack is also asking, anybody else buying $30 of Bitcoin tomorrow? I think that's the big question. And we'll just ask it for chat, guys. Chime in. Are you going to do it? Are you going to buy $30 of Bitcoin tomorrow in solidarity with El Salvador? And I'll go one further. Are you going to buy any amount of Bitcoin tomorrow and then send a remittance to somebody in another country where that would be impactful? Not that you have to do this, right? This isn't a ministry. We're not a video ministry or whatever. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, if it's in solidarity with these people, and we already see there's a history of the Salvadorian people getting taken advantage of when there's a switchover, is there something you can do that would help with that? Because I'm getting the sense that that might be where the greatest need is, not in seeing number go up, but in seeing education go up for the Salvadorian people. But I digress. Alex Gladstein goes on to say that they experienced something like on the street of 25% inflation because there were a lot of uneducated people who just didn't know any better, right? Even with basic arithmetic, they couldn't do the conversion in their heads. They were able to deal with simple tools and the previous currency, and the switchover was a big problem for them. So, all right. Yeah, but he says the psychological effect of ditching a national currency, which was loved by those people. It's like, those of us who grew up in the United States, we've heard the phrase, all of us, cash is king. Now, what happens if cash becomes totally outlawed? Literally paper notes, right? Bills, $20 bills. A lot of us are used to it. Very common to have in your wallet at all times, at least a few of them, right? If not a lot of them. $100 bills, the Benjamin that we know here. What if that completely became outlawed? It could have a psychologically damaging effect on us to say, like, okay, well, I was able to use this before, and we experienced that this last year, right? Where it's like, oh, we can't accept cash. It's dirty. It could cause a problem, right? We could spread infection using cash. And it's like, bro, name one time in the history of the world ever where that was like the primary means of infection. But what? Fine. Okay, sure. Yeah, no cash. Got it. That's your policy. We experienced that, and it messed people up. Just like, putting face coverings on little children who developmentally need to see your faces, our faces, and see our expressions and learn from them and figure out how to get along in the world. Whatever. Different rabbit hole, I know. But we've seen this. Small changes can hurt people. They can hurt society, actually, more than most people think. Crypto Keeper says, 24 watching, 24 likes. No other channel has those stats. That's true. That's like the French, right? In engineering, nobody copies the French. The French copy no one, and no one copy the French. What can I say? This is like the little France of crypto channels. But here we are, guys. But apparently also in El Salvador, if you're not familiar with the history, tons of violence coming out of El Salvador, here in the United States, in Los Angeles, and across this country. Some of the most violent gang activity that ever happened started with people who came from El Salvador and learned how to be extremely violent, hyper-violent from a civil war that took place and brought that with them and applied it to crime, right? Like, hey, we're going to run drugs. We're going to traffic people. We're going to abuse ladies, right? And force them to work the streets. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. But also, we will like literally take a machete and take whatever piece of you we want because we don't care. Like, we are very bad dudes. That was MS-13, if you're not familiar with the history there. Don't want to go over it too much here, but like he's saying, a brutal dictatorship led to an incredible civil war, which led to an incredible culture of violence, which persisted for years in El Salvador and made its way all the way up the Americas. It's pretty intense, right? Like, if you know the history, Nextera Gamer is nodding in the chat saying, yep, it's bad stuff. So there's a cultural memory in El Salvador of a lot of pain, right? And being abused by people who have power. I don't think they're wrong to be doubtful and, cautious at least, or in some cases, outright wanting to just say no. Like, we if it's a top-down initiative, we just say no. I think I get it. Like, we think, you and I, right? We think like, Bitcoin's going to be a good thing. This should be good if it's framed the right way and if it's rolled out the right way and if we educate people and we help them take control of their own Bitcoin and they don't just leave it on, foolishly on some government wallet where there may be intense surveillance and they just they figure out how to get out of that trap. This could be a very good thing for the people of El Salvador. But the people of El Salvador are like, we've been burned a couple of times by these folks. Like, we're cautious. We see that here too, right? Talk to a Native American. Say, hey, do you trust the federal government? Right? And I mean, not to make it weird or to like race bait, but straight up talk to any Black American and be like, hey, do you trust your federal government? Right. We can understand this, guys. Culturally, it's not too weird for us. Not that long ago, right? Not that many generations ago. We saw crazy stuff happen here. And most people kind of get concerned with certain kinds of initiatives, right? Like, there are some issues when you have the leadership of your country say, no, it's just going to be this way. And then there's the very real threat of it coming with more surveillance, more oppression, more, fewer freedoms. So I think I get it, guys. I do. And in the case of El Salvador, man, did they have it bad. Again, a wave of violence, right? From decades ago, a lifetime ago, 2 generations ago, a wave of violence that continued through the Americas into the United States and still exists today, right? Like, it's bad. It's really bad. The gang wars in LA, the inner city gang wars in LA, they weren't bad until those dudes showed up. And then they got like sick. They got really bad after that violence showed up. So when he talks about here the psychological effects of the situation being really bad in El Salvador, I think I get it. And if you look up the history just a little bit, I think you'll get it too. If you didn't already know. So yeah, really bad stuff. And then, 2007, the LA Times reported on it, right? How dollarization actually created such big problems. There were a lot of business owners, right? Unbanked small business owners that basically were shut down just in time for the dollar to take a dump in 2008, right? Where it was like, hey, so here's a double whammy. I know that your business just failed and, because we moved you to the dollar, but also the dollar is going to kind of fail a little bit over the next couple of years. It's going to look really bad next to the euro, going to look really bad next to the British pound, going to look bad next to even Costa Rica's money. But, you guys have got the dollar now. You're moving up in the world. Just trust us. That's kind of what happened here, right? So, yeah, bad stuff there. And then this lady is inspirational, right? So she's the mom of Jorge Bitcoin. Yes, a Bitcoin Beach founder, and she lives there, living in El Zonte, but started accepting Bitcoin back in 2019 to try to accept Bitcoin when it was low. I think that was absolutely brilliant. Just stroke of sheer brilliance on this lady's part, accepting Bitcoin for her business so her profit margin grew from 2019 prices up till today. I mean, smart lady. But when he asked her about dollarization, apparently she was like, yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I was there. That's why I started accepting Bitcoin early. This lady, if I had to guess, she's probably objectively very wealthy among her peers, but, she also still lives in El Salvador. So when in El Salvador, you still live like everybody else does. It's like living in the Caribbean, right? You don't go like trying to show off flashiness because it gets you in trouble. So, but yeah, a lot of the protesters, they still remember dollarization, and that's kind of their big hang up. It really isn't about Bitcoin per se. It's more about the fact that a trustless system is being enforced by a group that's saying, trust us. That's kind of the big issue. It's like, dude, trust you. Why? Where's a history? Where's a foundation of trust that we can build on here when it comes to Bitcoin, a public ledger? Nah. Yeah, nah. Doesn't work out so well. Next Era Gamer said that when the Patriot Act was just for a little while. Raven Boy Crypto talks about the war on drugs, right? Which we're still living in the after effects of the war on drugs. It will never end, right? Whoa, John Germain saying latest CPUs made in Vietnam. What happened there? IC chips made in El Salvador. What happened there? We are bad dudes on the corporate level. We're it's like tribal. It's like the tribal warfare of centuries past. It basically never stopped. So there's some realities we have to face there as well. We are so soft. It sounds bad. We've been made so soft, right, by modern life that sometimes we don't acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of really aggressive stuff in the world to get things done, and then we sanitize it for life back home here where we want to live civilized. It's a hard thing to reconcile, right? We want to have peace. We want to live in a very comfortable way. We don't want to be violent, but then, like you're saying, the business interests and the political interests around the world, when diplomacy fails, things get nasty. That said, man, there's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way. I'm not going to endorse any specific candidate, but I will say the last guy who was in office here, he didn't start any new wars to keep businesses running. Maybe he was onto something, maybe he was finding a better way. I don't know. But that was a really sad one, guys. I've been talking a lot recently about El Salvador and Cuba, and it kind of it makes me a bit melancholy, right? It's kind of sad to think about how there are these places that, I don't know. On crypto Twitter, we always talk about how Bitcoin fixes this. There's some things that Bitcoin doesn't fix, though, culture doesn't get fixed by Bitcoin, at least not overnight. And actually, there is no easy fix anywhere for culture overnight. It takes time. It takes sometimes generations to air quotes fix culture, even just to change culture, even to make it worse. It takes time. No, I take that back. Actually, culture can get bad really fast. It doesn't tend to improve really fast. That takes time, though, right? Changing culture for the better. That's what takes time, and it takes an investment of education and outreach and being uplifting and having thick skin, right? When there's a bit of rebellious culture that's no, we don't want this. It's almost like raising children on some level, right? Being a good parent to children, it's very similar, as opposed to just being an authoritarian, nope, big brother is watching, patriarchal, father knows best. Nah, if you want to help people change, you got to be able to deal with the fallout of people saying no for a while and saying it's okay. We're gonna act in the best interest. So we'll see in El Salvador. We'll see if all this talk is, if it's legit. See if Nayib Bukele is going to deliver on those promises of being that guy, right? Who's okay, in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, you will see. We're not here to abuse you. We're not here to create terrible systems of oppression or surveillance. We're literally just here. We literally made this move only to prevent being dragged down by a dollar that's going to be hit by massive inflation and is already hit by massive debasement through money printing. But I think it's going to take years for that guy to actually be able to back up what was pushed through in 39 days. But yeah, I think these people are not wrong to have their doubts. I think they're not wrong. You tell me in the comments, guys. Next Era Gamer says 10,000%. Comfort is a hell of a drug. Yep. And Gallo, cancel culture happens so fast. And then Zotrack says every champion was a contender who refused to give up. That's true, man. You don't have to be the most. You don't have to be the most impressive gladiator at the start of the games. You just have to be the last one standing, right? And we've seen that in this space too. But whatever. Let's take a look at our current transaction throughput on TX Street. Might have to refresh the page here because I got things lined up just a little while ago. Hey, no, we're good. Okay, so taking a look at TX Street, we got on our Ethereum gas fees over on this side and our Bitcoin gas fees. We've got not quite as hefty mempool count as before for Bitcoin, but the prices are still up a little bit higher. US dollar equivalent of a median fee of 63 cents. That's, it's not as cheap as before. You recall weeks ago and months ago when we saw the Bitcoin price really low, I admonished members of our audience, if you're into doing Bitcoin mixing, which by the way, at least in the United States is perfectly legal. It is legal for you to mix your Bitcoin, as far as I can tell. There is no law against it yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you can find chapter and verse to tell me exactly how and why I'm wrong, I'll take it back. But as I understand it right now, there's nothing illegal about using a mixer as long as it's decentralized and not a centralized mixer. Nothing illegal about you mixing your Bitcoin. They're just fees. So when the fees are low, that's the best time to do it. Unfortunately, we're not in that really low fee environment for your Bitcoin. Ethereum, tampoco. We're also not in that very low fee environment if you want to use mixers like Tornado Cash. Just not quite low enough. Right now, the median contract fee is almost $60 again, and that would be cost prohibitive to a lot of people trying to use ZK mixers like Tornado Cash on Ethereum. Median ETH transfer fee is over $8. That's just to move Ether between your wallets. That's a little bit of a bummer. If you're not familiar with how this works, check out one of our other videos where we talk about it. I'm not going to go over this too much, but these represent blocks going into the blockchain, and these transactions represent real world transactions, if I click on them, based on blockchain data telling us exactly what is happening on both sides. There's Bitcoin as well. Pretty cool, right? We can aggregate all this info right here. So big ups to the developers over at TX Street. They've made such an incredibly useful tool. It's also just fun to look at, right? Like, isn't this great as like a screensaver? You ever just have this on your second monitor at work or like behind your main window while you're working? It's kind of cool to see how these blockchains are moving in real time. It actually works on your phone too, in mobile, on a mobile browser. So it's pretty impressive what they did here. But those are our fees right now. Let's go to Fiat Leak and see where in the world everything is going. Cardano is flying right now. I suspect that's from sell orders. I cannot wait to see our portfolio. Been some big news in Cardano recently with some smart contracts that were finally released. Guys, I stand corrected. They did it. However, they had a little bit of a problem with Cardano, and that is that their transactional throughput on the most recent smart contracts was so low, so incredibly low. It approached a literal 1 transaction per second. It was really bad. So let's see what that did to price. I can't imagine it was good. Well, let's start with Bitcoin. See how Bitcoin is moving across the globe right now. First off, we got a Bitcoin price of $52,518. Heck yeah. Feels good to say that. But $52,000, guys, we smashed through the 50,000. I'm sorry, we penetrated. We penetrated the $50,000 resistance line, and I'm just here to tell you, feels good. So, taking a look here at the Fiat Leak, a lot of US dollars flowing into Bitcoin right now. We'll see what else comes through as this warms up, and take a look at our live trades coming in. They move so fast that we can't even track them, right? This is another great one to have on your desktop if you want to have this as like a background. If there were previous versions of Windows, for example, that would let you use a website as your desktop background, it would be extremely memory intensive now, I think, but you could still use this. It would just look amazing, right? Right back here, seeing where in the world all the Bitcoin is being bought, or which currencies are being used to buy all the Bitcoin in the world. Looks pretty cool though. Korean won representing as per usual. Got the not the Thai baht, but the Turkish lira as well coming out. Canadian dollar, a little bit of that trickling in, a little more. Brazilian real. I was saying it wrong before. It is not the Brazilian real. I mean, I didn't say it that wrong. We're in the United States. It's okay for me to say it that way, but it's the Brazilian real. And yeah, it's flowing through as well. Japanese yen. Ooh, Indian rupee. Really flowing through there. Thai baht also going in. I think there are a lot of people throughout the world who are buying Bitcoin, maybe not just in solidarity with El Salvador, but just because of the price action from the news coming out of El Salvador. I think there are a lot of people throughout the world who are seeing this and realizing, yeah, it's happening. It's really happening. A sovereign nation is adopting it. Now, whether or not the people of El Salvador ultimately do like this change or ultimately use Bitcoin or finally warm up to it over time, maybe we'll see. When this market corrects, it really could be devastating for some small businesses and the most poor of the country in El Salvador. We don't know for sure, but this could still be a good thing, right? It could be salvaged still. We don't know. But there's going to require a lot of education. Going to be a lot of education that needs to take place in El Salvador to help the majority of people to really benefit. But I think a lot of these folks here, what do we have here? Hungarian forint also going in. Yeah, lots of money going into Bitcoin right now. And, you know, small wonder, right? Plenty of euro as well. Small wonder for sure. Let's take a look at Ethereum to see how it's flowing as well. Ooh. Current price is $38.98. I had to open my big mouth. It was over 3,900, I think, before we started broadcasting. Here we are at about 38.98. Not my favorite price for Ethereum, but you know what? It's not my least favorite price either. I remember when it was, you know, trading closer to $200. Felt like it was not that long ago. Here we are 20x up from that. I mean, this is pinch me, right? Like, this is unreal. So USD flowing into Ethereum pretty heavily. Euro also flowing in. Thai baht flowing in a little bit more heavily than I expected. And then, of course, the Russian ruble flowing into Ethereum. These are, of course, all coming off of regulated exchanges. So we really don't know what the OTC market looks like. We really don't know what the on-chain data looks like as far as using tools like Uniswap or SushiSwap to be able to trade other coins in exchange for Ethereum. So this is pretty much just fresh fiat dollars going into, or currency going into Ethereum, but it looks good. This looks really great. Lots of trades coming in really fast, but primarily US dollar. Turkish lira showing up as well. Thai baht also showing up as well. John Ross is saying, Bitcoin mixing is to attempt to obfuscate the origin block and all past transactions of your coin. Better to just use Monero. You know, I agree largely. And I think that also better now that we've got finally Seth Simmons and a few others who have volunteered to pool their Monero to do permissionless atomic swaps between Monero and Bitcoin. If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, that might be an even better way to go than doing a complex coin join or Bitcoin mixing transaction. And it might just be better to trade to Monero. And then if you need Bitcoin or you want to use Bitcoin as savings, just trade back, right, with somebody else who's a willing participant. However, if I'm not mistaken, that's been at a pretty high premium. I know Seth Simmons, for example, I think traded his Monero at a 35% premium, which is pretty high. That's just pretty darn high. I know he was trying to make sure that it was worth his time and he was the very first to do it. That's okay. But I think not really sustainable for the long run. So I think there's a reason he's kind of like bowed out of that. But yeah, I agree. Monero is great for what it's great for. Bitcoin is great for what it's great for, which right now includes being an additional accepted currency by a national, like at a national level, right? By a sovereign state government. So Monero's not there yet. Hopefully we get there. That said, I don't know if I really want to hear that the United States is like, oh, it's okay. We'll accept Monero now as national currency. That would tell me that it's blown, right? The privacy's blown. So mixed bag there, right? Kind of mixed bag. We got this warmed up now. We're seeing plenty of other currencies go in as well. Korean won is definitely on fire with Ethereum right now. Looking good. Let's go to What's in Mine and go through our profitability real quick. Start with the R9 380. The R9 380 at 14 cent power and averages for 7 days is currently yielding 66 cents every single day on Ethereum Classic, Ergo at 45 cents, Vertcoin on the list at 40 cents, Flux, yeah boy, 43 cents. Quark chain showing up out of nowhere. Didn't expect that. And then Raven Coin low on the list, not nearly as profitable. R9 Fury, which is roughly the same core, but with HBM memory. So high bandwidth memory, which can be very helpful for things like ETH hash, right? So the Ethereum Classic number should be higher, but the Raven Coin number should be also $1.38 in profit every single day, with Ethereum Classic at $1.04 and Flux at 95 cents. Looking good. Zano at 98 cents. Great to see it there as well. And Beam at over $1.10, $1.18. That's unexpected. Really great to see Beam doing so well. Privacy-oriented project there as well. With some DeFi tie-ins and some really great innovation. 4 gig Polaris cards. Let's move this all the way up to 30.5 mega hash. We could even, if we wanted to get really saucy, call it 32.5 mega hash. Why would I do that? Well, I probably shouldn't change it now, but it is possible to get these Polaris cards all the way up to 32.5 mega hash, 33 and higher if you're a real rock star and you know how to make them really, really overclock and undervolt to the point that they perform their very best. I'm just curious. I'm going to put it at 32.5 mega hash just to see what it does there, because I'm, just going a little crazy. $1.60 on Ethereum Classic at that, and then Raven Coin at $1.28, Beam at $1.10. Let's bring it back in line with the base values at 30.5. This is also a good demonstration as to why you need to do your own testing, your own benchmarking, and figure out which numbers make most sense for you. Right? Like if you know you can do better on a certain card than what you see here on this show, you put those numbers into this calculator and that'll give you the correct number for you to be able to plan exactly what's going to happen in your minds and exactly what you're going to do with the resulting coins. Guys, midway through this episode, I want to thank you for hitting that thumbs up, and I want to thank you for sharing the link so we have more people watching with us live and more people in the live comments. Definitely appreciate that, guys. Appreciate you being here. It's always fun hanging with you, chatting with you live. Some goblin loser I don't know says, he just got in, says, hey, yo, I just got home from my day job. I have to fix my bicycle as well as my 5600 XT. It is dirty. I don't know which one's dirty, but here's the thing. They'll both work better if you clean them, right? So whatever. Time to get your hands dirty. Glad you're here. Glad you're sharing with us while you do that. Because I'm not going to lie, man, a 5600 XT, that would be a lot of fun to work on right now. We also got MC in the house saying, what up, MYB? Well, hello. Hello, MC. Good to see you here. But bringing this number back down to 30.5. Remember, you got to put in numbers that you have personally benchmarked and you know you can sustain. And that may sometimes include bringing the power consumption up. I know that's painful to do. But if those are your real world consumption numbers, then you should use this calculator that way. Not by what you hope you can achieve with your mining rigs, but with numbers that you are actually achieving right now. Then you'll know whether or not you're profitable. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Dave is saying it's all good, Seth. Just remember, friendship tax is coming. Oh my gosh. Friendship tax. What does that even mean, man? What does it even mean? Friendship tax. Ethereum Classic at $1.40. That's still great, man. It was $1.60 before. Let's go to that 8 gig Polaris card showing us 30.5 mega hash. Let's see. Hey, Albert Brown says, just shared this show on Twitter to spread some knowledge and love. Thanks you, man. I really appreciate that. And MC is saying 50 at 220 watts, though, at the 1080 Ti. Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. You got to use numbers that you know you can do sustainably, right? Like, it's got to be personalized. I just go over the generic numbers here, and I've gotten flack on this sort of like thing that I do for years now, right? Where people say like, oh, I didn't get that because I overclocked and I did this thing. It's like, that's cool. So that was your hash rate. What was your power consumption? Oh, I mean, what? Yeah, power consumption. Guys, it's a ratio, right? You got to know how profitable you are. So 8 gig Polaris cards here. Hit that calculate button. Figure out what our profitability is. And it's unbelievable that we still get $2.28 every single day, even on 14-cent power on these cards that are ancient. I may or may not know people who are trying to sell some of these cards. I'm not going to show you anything. I'm not going to show you any hardware. But if you know somebody who's buying, I know somebody who's selling. No broker fee or whatever. I just want to help a friend out. So $2.28 per day on those. Ethereum Classic doing $1.44. Everything else is lower than that. So almost $1 less than Ethereum. Why would you change? Other than maybe adding ZIL, right? Dual mining ZIL and ETH, or maybe mining to Ethermine or some other pool that pays out on Polygon. Guys, I'm going to stand by it. Polygon, that's been one of the best choices that I've made so far, is to keep my coins on Polygon. My transfer fees are basically, fractions of a penny, as opposed to like $8 every time I want to move them. And smart contracts also cost me fractions of a penny, as opposed to 60, 70, or $100, depending on the complexity of the smart contract. I've really enjoyed transacting on Polygon. It's been a really good thing for me. Now that I've just kind of like stuck with it. Some Goblin Loser says, mind your biz, what would the profitability be on an R9 390? I don't know where to look for it on what to mine. Hey, that's a great question. There were some ratios before. If I'm not mistaken, the 390, that was not the generation that had the dual GPU cores, right? There were some other previous AMD cards that did have the dual GPU cores when they got into the 90 designator. So I'm trying to remember if that's the case for the 390. I don't think it was, right? But we'll have to look it up. A great place to check would be Reddit on some like archived threads there, and then bitcointalk.org. You're going to have to really dig there. So use the Google search that they have embedded, not the native search to that bulletin board, because the native search is terrible. It is one of those things where like Google search is going to serve you a lot better there. Just be sure that you're taking your usual precautions to not be like, not compromise your privacy there. But bitcointalk.org, you should be able to find some reasonably good numbers for that card there. So that said, also for the R9 380, you're going to have to actually use a hex editor to be able to edit the VBIOS if you want to improve performance. You can't use something simple and graphical like a Polaris VBIOS editor. Kind of a bummer, but you can make them really rock and roll. Samuel Redden says, thank you for your wisdom. Hey, I really appreciate you saying that, Samuel. Really appreciate that. Just doing what I can to foster community and talk about something that's interesting to me, right? Like this is fun for me. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you guys tuning in when I show up rambling about this stuff. But 8 gig Polaris card, still doing great. Vega 56. It's that first generation Vega core with HBM2 memory. We're going to calculate with the exact same numbers, and Ethereum is at $3.80 per day. That's looking awesome, guys. Ergo at $3.47. So not bad, but my take on it. Ethereum consistently slightly higher over the long run and basically inherently more useful. I personally think that the news coming out of Cardano with smart contracts being extremely slow is going to affect Ergo in the long run. I don't think it's going to be a great ecosystem to be involved with. I don't want to do like a hit piece on Cardano now, because I've got people, hey, don't talk trash about Cardano. Don't talk trash about Chia. I mean, fine, you do your own research. But I'm not inspired by the performance of either. And I'm not inspired by Cardano. I'm not inspired by Chia. I am inspired by the fact that DeFi all runs on Ethereum now. And layer 2 DeFi, most people don't talk about this, but the transactional volume of layer 2 DeFi that actually just runs on Polygon is actually more than double than what runs on Ethereum right now. Shh, don't tell anyone. Big secret. Guys, they're chain analytics. Everybody can look it up, but I don't know why it's so controversial. It's like, nah, Cardano is not running right now. It's not running DeFi. Period. Ethereum is, and it's second layers. So yeah, I don't get it. Zotrack is saying BCT Talk engine, search engine is so terrible it warns you beforehand not to not use it if possible. Yeah, right. That's where I got that from. You want to use if you go to, I don't even remember how to navigate to it now, but there is a Google enhanced search function that has the site indexed through Google, so you can use that. Plus, I think you can do a custom search engine using Google if you want to do that, and then just index their site. But R9 380 MC is saying gets similar hash as 480 higher watts, I believe. Maybe. Yeah, that might be about right. But I think it's going to be a bit lower on some other algorithms as well, guys. Any of the Kryptonite algorithms are not going to be quite as high performance on the previous R9 architecture or previous R9 cards, but it will be great on Ethereum. So anyway, that's the Vega 56. Let's go all the way up to the top of the line. Radeon 7. Hit calculate, see what our numbers are. And we got Ethereum at $7.62 every day. Amazing. Ergo at $5.42, not even close. Beam Hash, lower than that, or Beam, lower than that. Ravencoin, also not interested in looking at that. It just doesn't make sense. 5600 XT, 6800 XT, not the non-XT model. We'll check that out. Remember that this composite value, 60% of our performance and profit is going to go to that one. We calculated, and Ethereum's at $8.44. Ravencoin at $5.99, not even close again, unless you're a Ravencoin maxi, or that's like totally your thing and you've already got a big bag of Ravencoin that you want to just keep adding to or something, or you got a farm that where it makes more sense to you to. I just don't get it, guys. I don't know why you would do that. You can still trade, right? You still got $2.44, $2.45, you know, to count pennies here, more profit on Ethereum. I don't know. Maybe you can think of a reason, guys. Try to convince me. What would be a good reason to go with Ravencoin when you've got that much more profit for Ethereum? What do you think? Tell me. But the trading volume is consistently good on Ravencoin, definitely high. So maybe you can find some way to arbitrage that as well. Hey, that might be a good reason. Maybe you got a good arbitrage opportunity in front of you with Ravencoin where somebody's willing to buy. Maybe you can do private sell OTC as a miner, and you can make up some of the difference that way by selling at a premium. Could be any number of reasons you would do it. Ethereum Classic is also there at $5.58, but again, not as impressive in my mind. Let's go to Team Green and start at the very top of the line: 3090, 2080 Ti, 1660S, and 1080 Ti. And hit calculate. We're doing a composite score here because about half of this score is going to go to the 3090. It's a little fast to get through it. Ethereum at 1859 and Flux coming out of nowhere, taking the number 2 spot at 1736. Good on you, Team Flux. That is amazing. Well done. Firo in third place, very distant third at 1397. Not very impressive there. And then Ravencoin at 1266. So it's a contender, but it's not great. Let's go to the value and efficiency cards: 1060, 1660, 2060, and then 3060 Ti to get that same ratio of the 3000 series card, doing about half of all the hard work. Ethereum at $10.51, and Flux still in the number 2 spot at $10.10. That's much closer for the value and efficiency cards. And considering the fact that there is an active masternode system, or they're calling it a proof of useful work system now. So congrats, Daniel Keller and the team who finally took on that turn of phrase that I think that Christy Lee Minahan came up with years ago, and then I started to pair it on my show years ago about proof of useful work. They're trying to create a basically an enhanced service node system that lets people run decentralized services. Things like we talked about last live stream, things like messengers, things like site hosting, things like video games in the cloud, all kinds of cloud services that can be run from this decentralized network on Flux. Pretty cool. So to have two ways to earn, right? Having mining be so profitable right now, and then having the coins that you earn potentially be put into a masternode that earn you even more. And not because they're just like staking for some reason that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't add any value in the world, but they're actually going to work, right? It is useful work to put those coins into a masternode that isn't just masternode consensus. It's a service node that runs cloud services like shared hosting, right? Like, who wouldn't understand that? You're providing a valuable service. So to get paid for it natively in that crypto, that's pretty cool. So great to see them on the list now. Well done, guys. All right, that's our mining profitability for GPUs tonight. Let me know what questions you guys have in the comment section, guys. And above all, let me know, how was your Labor Day? We're here in the United States. Do you have a great Labor Day? Spend time with family? Spend time with friends? Anybody grill? Anybody do anything fun? Let me know. Love to hear about that in the comment section. But here we are on the Brains calculator. We're going to go to our base Bitmain Antminer S9 configuration, and looks like our current break-even rate is 16.2 cents, and that's not going to look good when we go to our residential rate, our average residential rate of 14 cents per kilowatt hour. That's going to bring us all the way up to a cost of $41,500 to mine one full Bitcoin. Let's bring that down to 8 cent kilowatt hour per kilowatt hour power. And you've heard me say many times that you can find this, and I still stand by that. You definitely can. 24.1 thousand US dollars per Bitcoin. That's a little more like it. Let's move into our alternate profile though. The MicroBT M20S, right? And there we go. M20S, not the M10S. Take a look at that. David is saying, great Labor Day, laboring away, bro. I feel it. I do. I feel it. A lot of client work today for me, but I've been like standing next to the kids while I watch TV. So does that count as spending time? It really doesn't, man. 20 years from now, I'm going to regret it, but had to do it, right? Greg says, happy Labor Day, Seth. Hey, thank you. Happy Labor Day right back to you. I hope you're back home or close to home with the kiddos. Handyman says, grill and cut the grass and bushes. Hey, man, that's cool. You spent time outside. That's fun. You know, improving the homestead. Nice. Well done. But we're here on the MicroBT What's Miner M20S. We're at 8 cent power here, and now you're acquiring one full Bitcoin for $14.3 thousand, and even all the way up to 14 cents per kilowatt hour power. You're below the halfway point for break-even electricity. So your Bitcoin is being mined at $24.3 thousand. Much better value proposition. Shout out to Whit Gibbs, who on crypto Twitter mentioned that Antminer S9s, they're still hashing away in Venezuela. And I agree with him. There are secondary markets where the Antminer S9 is going to do phenomenally well. Might not do so well in your mining shed after, next few months. So maybe consider moving those along. I don't know. I've been saying that for a while, guys, right? Been trying to warn everybody. This might be a good time for you to consider rotating some of your inventory. So you do the hard work, do the math, figure out what your profit margins are, come up with a plan, work that plan. Don't let your equipment become obsolete on your watch. There's always a secondary market. It might not be domestic, right? Just like how I say you can find 8 cent power, you can find a buyer for everything you have in your mining in your mining operation. And it's fair, right? It's fair for you to sell these things for what they're worth to that buyer persona. It doesn't have to be somebody like your neighbor. Like, you don't try to force them to buy mining rigs from you. Like, oh yeah, you don't understand this. This mining edition, but P106 with 3 gigs of RAM, you don't understand. It's going to be so useful. Crypto's the future. You got to buy this. It's worth $250. Just do it. Nah, man, like don't force the sale. Find the right buyer. They're out there. So that's our cost of my one full Bitcoin. Miningpoolprofits.com. Shout out to Matt, son of a tech, or Blind Run. Thank you so much for bringing this up in a previous video. I still haven't totally explored this yet, but this is pretty cool. It's a really great tool right here. We'll start adding this to the lineup maybe in the future. You guys tell me if you like it. But this shows us where we've got peak profitability, and it looks like it kind of like shifts and changes from one pool to another. Crazy Pool had a big spike. Not always the most consistently profitable pool, but it had a couple of big spikes, which is kind of nice. But the more traditional pools that we all go to, right? Your Ethermines, your Hivons, the others, right? Ethermine is kind of steady Eddie, right? Consistent profits, consistent payouts. Hivon, a little more spiky, right? It had a big spike way back on, gosh, it doesn't tell us the date that I'm hovering over. But before August 22nd, looks like it's probably August 21st there. That's maybe, doesn't line up. Anyway, so we got a bit more profit on some of the other pools. Big spike on Hivon that day. Spark Pool also steady. Guys, this is actually what you want to see from a mining pool. You actually want it to be a little bit boring in some ways. Now, when MEV spikes, you want them to try to roll some of those profits into that boring average. But for mining on a pool, you actually want it to be kind of normal, right? Typically. If it's overly volatile, well, you can possibly also have really volatile payouts and really big problems. But it looks like profits have been pretty high on Crazy Pool, and they've spiked up consistently more regularly than on other pools. Take a look to see where there's some other big spikes there. Looks like, is that Zet or is that Nanopool? That's Zet, not Nanopool. Nanopool, another consistent producer here, right? Very consistent payouts, very consistent profits. But then, Zet and Crazy Pool have both been nuts. But they also dip way down, deep valleys occasionally on Zet. Crazy Pool, not so much. And then today's current mining payouts are just not tabulated yet. But miningpoolsprofits.com. It's a double, what's the word here? double plural, right? miningpoolsprofits.com. Anyway, cool readout there. I think in some ways more useful to us initially than miningpoolstats.com. Next, Eric Gamer is asking, is GMT still interesting? Asking about Go Mining Token. To be totally frank, I haven't looked back at it since I did the initial review. I should add it to our lineup, though, in our portfolio to see how it's performing. That seem fair? We'll hold it to the objective standard of whether or not it's actually profitable. I think that might be the best way to answer that question today. So I can add that live when we go over to our portfolios. Let me do that to answer that question. Because as far as like following up on the team, I haven't followed up on the team. I know that Go Mining is an actual operation that actually has gear that's in production right now. So that's what helped me feel confident to be able to do the review. So again, guys, I'm trying to make sure I pick some of the better projects to be able to review, because we're still in a bull market, and just straight up, I still occasionally get companies that, like, less reputable companies they'll straight up just like send me an email and like offer money, what seems like unreasonable amounts of money, to be like, hey, just say something nice about us. And I wind up having to turn down a lot of that kind of stuff, because it's like, nah, man, like, no. Why would I just review any project just from anywhere? That said, I have a couple projects that I have reviewed that I felt really good about, that if you've been paying attention, have done really well. They've done really, really well. A couple of projects, but you'd have to attract them. And I'm not going to like name them here now, because I don't want it to be that sort of like, oh, I'm going to create FOMO for you. You missed out. No, I'm not going to do that. But I will say that there have been a couple of those projects that I have vetted a little more carefully, and they've done really well. So I have been trying to do right by you guys, and I'm trying to get better at that. Appreciate the follow-up, though. Yeah, guys, mining pool stats, I'm considering just replacing that in the reports with miningpoolsprofits.com. You let me know what you think, but I really do think that'd be a better way to review some of the relevant info for us right now. So I'm going to click that out of our current lineup. GPU portfolio is up a fraction of 1% over the last 24 hours, but we are up 20% since we made the portfolio. And Flux just hopped on a rocket ship overnight, man. What the heck happened there? What the heck? And Dave is asking about Chia. He's like, oh, you're talking about Chia. It's definitely Chia, right? Chia's the one that you helped us with. Yeah, first off, guys, yeah, sorry, not sorry to anybody who's still like holding on beyond hope for Chia to just like rebound and like skyrocket to the top of the lists. I don't foresee that happening. Then again, I haven't looked at this chart yet. I always look at this chart live, so it's like genuine reactions here. Watch, it like totally has skyrocketed to the top of the hard drive mining list. I'll be like, oh no. But with GPU mineable coins, Flux just like, I mean, it just shot straight up, guys. I don't know who saw that coming. I didn't, but yeah, 32 cents per coin. I had somebody buy one of the Mind Your Biz phones the other day, and they hit me up and they're like, hey, could you accept like Flux for this? I was like, you know what? I mess with Flux. Sure. Yeah, send me some. Let's do that instead of whatever else I normally accept for that product. And they did. And I saw it shoot up to like 25 cents. And I got all nervous because I was like, oh no, it's going to retrace. I know it is. This person's trying to get me to hold their bag and give them a free phone. And I sold it before I made it all the way up to 32. I didn't know we would hit support at 32 cents. So I'm like super ashamed of my behavior. I did the wrong thing. But in the meantime, look at this chart. It did actually retrace a bit. Well, I want to take a closer look at that now. Now I'm all curious. And the other day I was really nervous though, because it was since the last time we live streamed. And over the last 7 days, we hit a previous all-time high of almost 33 cents. And then it did retrace all the way down to 23 cents. Maybe I did do the right thing by not just bag holding and hoping that it came back up, because I also didn't hold it all the way down to 23 cents. I'll put it that way, right? Like I did get kind of nervous though, guys. I'm not going to lie. Like when you're working a crypto business, like when you're accepting crypto in your business, these are considerations, right? The volatility, especially when you have fixed costs. Right. So I've got fixed IT costs or fixed equipment costs when I'm conditioning and then and then flashing and then accessorizing this tech, right? So I put an impact resistant case on it. I moved to like the Pixel 4 and 4 XL, so it's waterproof, whatever. And then I put the privacy screens on them, and then I put them in a Faraday bag. All of those are fixed costs, right? And then flashing it is my time too. So it's like I maybe have margin in my time, but dude, you don't work for free. I don't work for free otherwise when I'm billing hours to clients. So to have that business be like, okay, I basically shrunk my margin all the way down to barely covering my costs there. And I worked for free for days, right? Because I did so many of these things. It's scary. So I think I get also where the people from El Salvador are like, small businesses especially, like, I don't know, volatility in Bitcoin. We're not sure if we want to live on this. Like, maybe if I opt into it, sure. But I don't want to be forced to have to accept it right when it's about to fall off a cliff, right? Because there's a weekly sort of price movement cycle for Bitcoin. What if you went into like some business in El Salvador, you knew your buying power was up by like 20 or 15 or 20% for the week, and you just went in and you just like made out like a bandit, just getting a bunch of stuff from other people, and then those poor businesses were like bag holders. Like I can't move my Bitcoin fast enough to be able to cover my expenses. It can be scary. So anyway, I received somewhere around here, and even like, and then with fees and exchange rates and stuff, I wound up just breaking even, guys. It was exactly the dollar amount that I got. But I panicked because I was like, oh my gosh, I saw this, and then I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think it was actually somewhere around here that I actually sold. I don't even think I went that far back down around that side. Dave, how dare you make sense, Seth? And MC chimes in saying, I had to skip Chia. Zotrak all in on Chia, all because of Seth. Yeah, buddy. Dave Jack, also, he sold his wife for hard drives. That actually sounds like a pretty good trade, bro. I'm just saying. I mean, she was a nice person and all, but don't get me wrong. Like hard drives? Tempting. Just saying. On their best days, hard drives, they don't complain. They don't ask you for new shoes. Just saying. And they also don't tell you to golf less or fish less. So, like, you're welcome. So, anyway, that's our GPU portfolio. Flux at the top of the list. Biggest loser is now Swap. It is not Haven. Bro! Haven also on a rocket ship, way past $5. Last week, 66% up. Woo! Haven is recovering. That said, Haven has had some pretty great news coming out of it, right? So Haven has, they've been able to recover from their most recent hack. They've been communicating with the community, letting people know what they're going to do, not just making plans, but executing on them, right? Making good on them. They're rolling out apparently Haven 2.0, which will be the next iteration. They're trying to make things right. So they're a phenomenal example of what to do when things go wrong with your crypto project. And it shows. Look at this. 66% up. Market cap is up over $100 million. They're going to make it, right? Anybody who's holding Haven is going to make it. So kudos, team, if you're watching, or if anybody in the audience is a Haven bag holder. You're going to make it. I think you are. And I think we are nearing a much more realistic price of where this coin should be valued, in my opinion, right? Because they're finally delivering on that. But I have tried to warn everybody on the show that I thought it was mispriced. I didn't believe that it belonged in that last place spot. Here we are. So I hope that was helpful to somebody in the audience over the last several weeks, us tracking the price movement of Haven over time. But I think we're finally seeing that be validated now the team has hit some milestones and made good on their promises. Raven Coin is in the number 2 spot and also looking great, right? Just looking awesome. So they're both up considerably over our baseline investment or our paper trade from a while ago. The line where we stop being profitable is just below Beam. Everything above Beam here looking good. Conflux is our first loser. Etho is almost in the black though, and Conflux as well. Zano now in the red. BitTube, man, that's a very short list of coins that are in the red though. Very short list. And if this trend continues, Haven might be able to break out up past some of those others. If that trend continues for them, they may be able to break their way up through these levels up towards profitability. We'll see. Fingers crossed, because they really do good work. But let's go. Dave, he settled for 250 megabyte drives. Bro. As long as they're spinning platters, those things will last forever. Hard drive mineable coins, our 24-hour P&L, we're down almost 3%. And since we started the portfolio, we're up by 16 and change %. Storage doing great. Chia doing not so great, almost all the way down to 70% still. Had a little pump with the rest of the market cap. You see right there kind of a very, very similar correlated price action right there to Signum and others. Most recent pump, but not breaking out of the $300 range. However, it hasn't dropped down below the $200 range. Yeah, Dave says that those hard drives cook eggs better than she ever did. Dude, oh my gosh. The things I can't say in front of my wife. Anyway, yeah, that's hilarious, man. So Chia, still at the bottom of the list. I don't foresee it breaking out above the others anytime soon, just because it got pushed down so far with that price movement of Bitcoin down. But Chia is not down for the count, right? It's still in the money. If you're holding your Chia after a certain point and you already have your hard drives and you're already in production, I'm not going to tell you to stop, right? Obviously, you might still be able to chip away at your acquisition price for your hard drives and get yourself in the black, right? That could still happen. Absolutely could still happen for you. And they're still going to develop, I'm sure. From hard drives to CPU mineable coins, Monero is at the top of the list at exactly pi price, right? 314 and change. And it is in the black. Raptorium as well, but Raptorium is now number 2 and a significant gap there, 10%. Wownero is not yet in the black, and Veriscoin is not yet in the black either. Kind of struggling there. Not much else to report in CPU mineable coins, other than, yeah, for 24 hours, it's almost 1% down, and it's still up from when we created the portfolio. ASIC mineable coins down 2.14% in the last 24 hours, up by almost 4% since we made the portfolio. Bitcoin in the number 1 spot because of that most recent pump, that very great looking 7-day movement, 7-day channel upwards into the $52,000 range, which is just looking awesome. $52,500, looking very good there. Decred in number 2, but it's been in a downward channel over the last 5 days, it looks like, roughly. So despite the last 5 days performance, it's still in number 2. That's impressive. The fact that it's been able to maintain that spot, even though it's been in kind of a downward channel for days, right? It's showing some really great toughness there and resilience for that price. Dash in number 3 spot, Zcash right behind it. I'm a little bit surprised, guys. I know I shouldn't be surprised, but Zcash, anytime I see it doing well, it surprises me. I don't think that Zcash has particularly strong fundamentals, but the Zcash Foundation has they've offered a lot of goodwill to other projects. Their work on ZK Snarks is exemplary, and they do show great thought leadership in that space, including working with Monero Research Labs and other privacy-oriented projects, including Ethereum, to be able to enable ZK Snark smart contracts. So the fact that privacy is possible on Ethereum is in large part thanks to the outreach of the Zcash Foundation. So I know I've said things that make me sound like I'm really anti-Zcash, which frankly I am. The coin itself, I am. I don't think that it really merits existing anymore. And going to proof of stake, I don't think will improve it. I don't think it does enough. I don't think it does enough by default. I don't think it does enough in general to be a project that I would be interested in holding. But the Zcash Foundation has done good work, and I want to just say that publicly. So there you go. Litecoin refuses to die. Despite our best efforts, refuses to die. Horizon also in the black. Dogecoin not yet in the black, but also not in the last place spot. Definitely behind Wownero for sure. Dave Jack is asking about thoughts on VeChain. Well, in general, my thoughts on supply chain oriented cryptocurrencies is that I'm not a huge fan of them. Raptorium has a very specific use case that the founders had in mind when they created it and thought about supply chain for their use case on blockchain. So like handcrafted knives, that's their whole thing. They liked handcrafted knives. They also liked cryptocurrency. So like, how can we combine handcrafted knives and cryptocurrency? And so they decided to create a blockchain that let them track their handcrafted knives. In the meantime, they went out and got local produce makers in Borneo, right, where the founders live. They so in Malaysia, they got them on board with using this blockchain to be able to track their produce. So interesting there. VeChain, on the other hand, they are, they're working in the retail environment and with clothing, right, with specific types of consumer goods that will go to retail. And I get that there's a use case there, but I struggle with the fact that there's still shrink at retail and there's still problems en route to supply chain that blockchain hasn't fixed historically, and then I'm not convinced that it will fix through VeChain's involvement. So I don't know. I don't know. And Dave is saying it's the one that China isn't cracking down on now. That also has me a bit concerned, where it's like, okay, you're trying to track the flow of goods into the market. China's not known for being particularly chill about people's rights, and it's not known for being particularly good about tracking everything in people's lives and being responsible or generous with it. So that makes me even more concerned about VeChain now that you bring it up, and maybe we can look into it. Guys, I'm sorry, my nose has been so itchy tonight. I don't have good feelings towards VeChain. I'll put it that way. I don't. If Internet of Things blockchains are not my favorite, then supply chain blockchains are even less so, because everyone says like, oh yeah, supply chain on the blockchain is a great use case. And I think, well, not necessarily, but if you really did want to do that, you could create on any smart contract enabled blockchain like Ethereum, or like on a layer 2, like Polygon, you could create tokens, and whether non-fungible or otherwise, right? ERC20, you can create tokens that represent your all of your supplies, and you can track them that way. And you can come up with meaningful checkpoints, like wallets, right, that represent meaningful checkpoints, and smart contracts that represent meaningful checkpoints that represent real world phase gates, right, or milestones for your supply chain to bounce through. You could definitely do that still. You don't necessarily have to build some other blockchain. VeChain is interesting for sure. But yeah, you can come up with some of your own systems on smart contract enabled blockchains that replicate at least some of the functionality that VeChain had to create from scratch. And then you do so in a fully decentralized fashion, so that the people who are trying to sell you the solution, they don't control the rails that it runs on too, right? Like, I don't believe in full vertical integration for some of these projects. I don't think it's totally necessary. I think you want to have as decentralized a system as possible for some of these systems to run on top of, in the same way that we have the interstate highways here in the United States, right? Like, and we have like the railroad system, right? Like the transatlantic railroad system. Wait, what am I talking about? Yeah. Trans-Siberian, transatlantic, all these different railroad systems where it's like you can have other operators running on these rails. That's what I think is better. Personally, that's my take on it. And Dave asks the forbidden question. Says, what's your current GPU hash rate, ASIC hash rate? Well, if I say that, you guys will get a sense for what my earnings are. And I don't talk about those publicly, guys. And I don't display publicly my wallet or my wife. So sorry, not sorry. But I digress. VeChain, interesting thought experiment. I don't really like it. To answer your question simply, Pirate Chain is dragging its butt against the ground like a little dog trying to stain your carpet. Why? Why would you do that, Pirate Chain? Why would you make a mess like that? You're such a great coin. Why are you dragging your butt like a dog? Stop it. Sorry, let me get out a little water bottle. Stop it. Okay, I don't get it. Pirate Chain, do better. Be better. Don't get it. Bytecoin should not be ahead of you. Handyman is asking your total wattage. Same thing, guys. Not going to talk about that right now. But yeah, not gonna talk about that here. Oh my gosh, you asked twice. Going from ASICs to FPGA. Yeah. I apologize. You guys are asking, having a conversation in the chat. I didn't mean to interrupt. But FPGA mining portfolio, 24-hour change. We're up by 8.28%. Total P&L, we're still down by 6%. Dave Jack says, it's because I'm white, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, you're not a protected class of citizen. So, FPGAs, Cadena is number one. And Handyman is running 10 gigawatts. Guys, we got some ballers in the comment section. Please throw some emojis their way. I think they've earned it. I think we'd all agree. Yeah, so Cadena is the number one spot, but it's one of only two that's actually still profitable. Handshake has come up, right? And this is not a shock to me. Handshake, what they're doing in the namespace, right? In the namespace space, that's weird to say, right? That's even the word space is weird. We say it too often, but whatever. In the namespace space, Handshake has been doing very, very well, right? They've got loyalists who absolutely love their project. People who know it and like it tend to really love it. Those who don't know it are like, oh, what's a handshake? That's what you do when we don't do that anymore, right? You fist bump, elbow, right? Vampire cough, because germs. And it's kind of no in between. Like it's a love or hate. And for me, I'm like, I'm just distance because I don't like the namespace space in crypto. Like supply chain, I think it doesn't necessarily solve certain problems, and it introduces others because you have to have sort of a centralized naming authority for the internet. If you don't, you have problems with copyright squatting. You have problems with IP squatting, and I mean intellectual property squatting, not internet protocol squatting. Like, you have serious problems when you don't create centralized namespace authorities or naming authorities for the internet. Like Handshake and Ravencoin had this problem too. Anytime you make it a free-for-all for naming assets, for example, without allowing for duplication of names. And ERC20s do away with that problem on the asset layer of Ethereum, because it's like, okay, yeah, I could create a token on Ethereum, an ERC20 token called Bitcoin with the ticker symbol BTC. Nobody would take me seriously, right? That's the thing, because of reputation. But I could make that, and then somebody else could make it too. And then a third person could make it, and a fourth and a fifth, etc. Like an infinite number of people. For as much as Ethereum can scale, I can make that token and ticker symbol, which is why I think it's okay, right? When there's not a central authority there. Once you lock it down, right? And it's like, okay, well, you want a .f address, right, for the internet? Well, you can only have one. If you want BTC.f, there's only one. Well, what happens when that's up for sale or it's under contention, right? Like, you get a lot of squatters, like the early .com days, right? Where it's like, I'm going to go buy Target.com. And so the Target store is like, oh, shoot, they got us. Like, if we want to buy it, we're in trouble, which is the real story, by the way. True story, by the way. The Target.com company is not the retail outlet chain, Target. So there's a weird relationship there between them. That all happened in the .com era, the .com boom. David is asking, could you explain what is FPGA? Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I'm like getting way ahead of myself and telling stories about other stuff. FPGA stands for Field Programmable Gate Array. And an FPGA, let me pull up an example here of an FPGA company. FPGA is a type of hardware that is very programmable, more high performance. Gordon Murray is asking about, are we doing the Target conspiracy? It's not a conspiracy, bro. I did vendor support for Google, and I had to visit all of the Austin, Texas area Targets. It's not a conspiracy. They're actually not the same company. Target.com versus Target in person. I'm dropping hashtag facts, bro. But back to the FPGA question. So yeah, when people like, I also, like, in that role, I did vendor support for Best Buy and Walmart and Staples, and was it Office Depot? There's some other stores too, man. I did office support. I basically did like consumer product support for Google as an area level guy, right? As an area level manager guy from basically almost all the way down to San Antonio, and all the way up to, it was far past Georgetown. So if you know the Austin, Texas area, like it was a pretty large area. I wasn't like whatever. I wasn't like a retail employee that like sat in a store and did like Geek Squad. I did a lot of support for that whole area. Which is why it's funny. Occasionally Son of Attack will drop in and say BBY, which is the ticker symbol for Best Buy. Yeah, but yeah, don't get it twisted. Like I did work in consumer devices, but I didn't work like at Geek Squad. No offense though, man. Like I knew some actually, like in those store visits, I knew some really cool people that did work at Geek Squad. Oh my gosh, next Eric. No, I'm not a big deal. I know that. I'm not better than anybody. I just, I had some cool opportunities, right? Just some fun stuff, right? Like everyone has their story, and like it's actually all really cool. A dude I knew in the Austin, Texas area who worked at Geek Squad, he had previously done IT support during his time in the military, and I don't even know what branch he was in, but he was part of a forward operating group that had to literally go in and set up all of the IT for the most early deployments for some of our troops there. Dude had such bad PTSD. Super cool guy. Had such bad PTSD because he was in like these active war zones in a very forward operating group. Before the forward operating base was set up, this dude had to set up comms, right? So like network, right? He had to make sure that everything was up and running so that the next group that got there could have comms. They could have not just radios, but they could have like a local area network that was hardened that they could then use for communications right there and storing any amount of data that they needed to have on their computer systems. Dude worked at Best Buy in the middle of nowhere in a Geek Squad. I mean, I swear the dude looked like 10 years older than he actually was, had like gray hairs and stuff, like prematurely and stuff. Super cool guy though, super chill. So yeah, some like angry Karen walks into the Geek Squad and is like, you ruined this thing. He's like, this is like, he's on cruise control. Just staring at the lady, yep, you're right. We sure screwed that up. Anything else? Right? Like, you can never tell who you're talking to, right? Then again, it's Texas, right? A bunch of dudes who were like, whatever. Like, you occasionally have people who are SF and will walk in too. Like, you don't know. It's Texas, right? Every other person served in the military. Huge tangent, guys. I'm sorry. But, life. We all got our stories. That's all I'm saying. I'm not better than anybody. Just we all have our own story. And I love finding out new people's stories because, dude, I've yet to meet somebody who's legitimately not interesting. Everybody's got an interesting story. It's true. Anyway. Yeah, so MC saying, hooah, retired Army infantry here. Nice. So, and you got you know what's funny? Google just failed us right there. YouTube just failed us. He was trying to put in the U.S. flag, and it totally messed it up. So, yeah, SF dudes are nuts. But, whatever. I guess they prove they've got the right to be nuts. I guess. I won't say anything weird. Like, you look up Matt Best's stuff on YouTube, and he's very loud and proud about how incredibly nuts he is, for sure. Anyway, but FPGA. Sorry about that. David, you asked about FPGAs. They're field programmable gate arrays. This is a company called Xilinx, and they make these field programmable gate arrays. It looks almost like a CPU there, right? Very similar. Piece of silicon that's like similar to a CPU. See right there as well. Well, these are programmable pieces of silicon that you can make very high performance. They can be more high performance than a CPU or a GPU. Not quite as high performance as an ASIC, but you would need to get one of these and program it while you're creating the plans for an ASIC to figure out how best to make an ASIC. Now, the ASIC is fixed function. It just does one application. It's application specific integrated circuits, right? Those little boxes that only do one hashing algorithm. A good intermediate step would be these field programmable gate arrays, right? So, hey, Dig Deep Miner says, grunt here from the good old USMC. Guys, it's awesome. It's awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, and just know, I didn't serve. I didn't serve in the military. I have mad respect for people who did and kept their humanity and were able to, like, you know, make their lives amazing from their experiences, as opposed to just getting beat down from it. And I knew some dudes also who, like, Army does not give two craps about your back, your shoulders, your legs, no part of you really. And I knew some dudes who got back from Army service and just, like, it just crushed them, right? Not because of the like their bodies being broken down, but I knew a couple dudes just, like, their minds were just broken down. That and an Army Ranger dude too. Yeah. Anyway, hey, thank you, MC. I appreciate that. Yeah, I knew an Army Ranger dude who just, like, look at his eyes and it was like not much on the other side of it, right? Like, that's supposed to be the gateway to the soul. You look in and there's not much looking back at you. It was like looking through you, maybe. The guy was not. He was worse for the wear, for sure. Much worse for the wear. His stint in the Rangers was not good for him, I don't think. But yeah, these field programmable gate arrays, they're very high performance, so they only mine certain algorithms, and so that's why we have this list of coins here that FPGAs mine. So yeah, funny thing. FPGAs, they're harder to work with when you get them kind of in a more raw state like this, when you just get development boards from Xilinx, which you can find. So there we go, devices, FPGAs, and 3D ICs. So Vertex. Yeah, Vertex Ultra Scale, we'll start there. 20. Oh, we can go to, maybe they've got something in the 16 nanometer that's a little nice. Vertex Ultra Scale Plus 16 nanometer. Yep, VU 19P. And some of the other VU 33 and others here. Yeah, some of these are like development boards. You can find people who are able to do this, but it requires more programming, right? Like, unless you're a programmer who knows how to deal with this kind of hardware profile, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to use. It's not like you can just download some software somewhere and it's like, oh, sweet, a driver pack for this. Not like GPUs at all. FPGAs, they're waiting for a developer, a programmer, to literally describe in software what it's going to be, what it's going to do. I know it sounds weird, like physically it's got its own shape, but in software it has to be instructed as to what kinds of things it can do, what the parameters are, how much power it will consume or not consume, right? Like, the thing with an FPGA that's different from a GPU or a CPU is that most GPUs and CPUs already have firmware and they already have drivers in place so that they won't just run their power all the way up to the point that they melt themselves. An FPGA, if you're not careful, in software, you can describe, like, you can tell it, like, hey, I want you to be this way. I want you to do these things and act this way. And you can literally tell it to melt itself. You can literally tell itself to catch on fire, or tell it to catch itself on fire, because it consumes so much power. It pushes so much voltage through, or so much amperage through, that it, like, lights itself on fire and melts whatever its host device is. FPGAs can be a little bit scary. Handyman says, wouldn't that be firmware? Yes. With FPGAs, there's something called a bit stream, and a bit stream, like, you can get a bit stream describes to the FPGA what its tasks are, and it can be modified. Like, I'm using imperfect language to describe this, guys, because I'm not a bitstream developer and I'm not an FPGA developer, but I've been around it just enough to know that there are some other components to it. So I apologize that I'm making this probably more complicated than it needs to be. But the bitstream, yeah, it basically describes to this device what it's supposed to be, and it can be dangerous. Like, you can totally burn them out. Like, the first time you boot them up, there are no guarantees. If you have the wrong bitstream, Zotrax says, with enough mana, they don't catch fire. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and if you bring them into Minecraft, you can put them on the crafting table, and when you combine like pork and chicken, you make turducken. It's pretty cool. But like broiled turducken. Yeah, you need potions too, Zotrax says. That sounds accurate, yeah. They seem like magic, actually, FPGAs. But bitstreams are kind of the magic with FPGAs. It's pretty crazy, but like, as a hardware profile with a CPU or GPU, yeah, you could cause some damage to it, but you won't literally melt. No, you can. Think about it. You can't overclock your stuff to the point. If you're not careful, you can really damage stuff. But it's still not the same. It's still not quite the same. They're a different beast. They're a different category of hardware, and they can offer more performance, but they can offer a lot more headache too. There's some smaller appliances that use these as their brain instead of a CPU or a GPU, and they tend to do pretty well. Hey, MC throws in a super chat for $4.99. It says, gotta feed the kids. Thank you for awesome content, brother. Later, guys. Hey, thank you for that, man. Appreciate that. Happy Labor Day. You guys have a great dinner. But yeah, that's FPGAs in a nutshell, long, like really big nutshell. But that's why we have this portfolio here. A little bit different. Yeah, just a little bit different. 0x Bitcoin still bringing up the tail end of this side of the portfolio, but still massive swings. A few days ago, we and Jimmy says, very interesting, and thanks to all who served the U.S. and your service to the community. Yeah, man, right? Like, yeah, really, guys, thank you. To our veterans, thank you. Our veteran and our service people, thank you. And not everybody, not everybody's a veteran of a foreign war or veteran of active service in a war zone. But thank you guys. Do appreciate that. 0x Bitcoin though, still doing its thing. It had this weird breakout where it started to behave differently. And I think maybe it wasn't from our group here, maybe it was from somebody else, but I think somebody tried to take advantage of that little oscillation that we talk about on this show. And I think they kind of broke it for a little while. If I had to guess, that's kind of what it looked like. It looks almost like it broke for a little while because it changed its pattern and now it's back into the big swings again. So maybe we're back at a spot where it makes sense to start trying to do that arbitrage again. 42 cents all the way up to 50 cents. Yeah, better swings now, but they're pretty consistent still. So kind of funny thing about 0x Bitcoin there. That's our FPGA mining portfolio. We got all these coins here because to answer your question, David, all these coins can be mined by different kinds of FPGAs, but they're not really profitably mineable. You can't mine them with profit on a CPU, a GPU, or an ASIC, really. So that's why they're in their own little portfolio right now. That'd be fun. Proof of stake smart contracts. Let's drum roll for Cardano. Yep, it dropped. Cardano kind of dropped. Wax, Avalanche, Phantom, Terra, and Solana in the number one spot. Solana, just on a rip right now. Killing it. 24-hour change is up 3%. Since we created the portfolio, or since we put these paper trades in, we're almost 90% up across the entire portfolio. It's just kicking butt, taking names. Bottom of the list is ICP still. Sorry, dudes. Maybe you don't get tattoos on your face. Just try some permanent marker once or twice. See if you really like it. Polygon, right, is in the number 2 spot. Guys, I strongly suspect, I've been talking about it for a while, because taking my payouts from Ethereum on Polygon, I am really deeply getting myself entrenched in the Polygon ecosystem and maybe even a little bit in the community. And I'm just loving everything that I'm seeing there. It's looking really good. Personally, it's not advice, but I think it is undervalued still, like grossly, criminally undervalued. It should not be so undervalued. EOS, Zilliqa, Neo, Chainlink, all the rest are above it. But let's see, the line of profit starts with Neo, which is surprising. It was below profit before. Everything above it is in the profit. Everything above, I don't know, let's say like Binance coin is above 30% in the profit. Ethereum, of course, is in that list, but it's not proof of stake yet, and we don't know exactly when it will be. Polkadot has kind of fallen out of favor, apparently. It's not ripping up as fast as it was before. Still, it's doing better than Ethereum because everyone wants proof of stake and smart contracts. Cardano, it's still there. It's had a rough 24 hours. It kind of, I think, fell back a little bit more than some of the other projects we see here. Phantom and Solana kind of just got discovered by some groups and they're just exploding right now. Solana, I didn't even see that it was $170 just now. Last time I checked in, it was at $150, and even that just seemed unreal to me. What's this reality, right? Like almost $5,000 from putting 1,000 in. You would have almost 5x your money by putting that into Solana back on May 26th. Unbelievable. Just crazy. Cardano, on the other hand, is flat. it's moving sideways. It had a little pump upwards because people were expecting to see something happen in smart contracts that didn't happen. It just didn't, guys. It just fell flat. And yeah, I'm going to double down on my opinion from before. I'm skeptical. I don't see Cardano breaking out the way that people have said for years now that it should, precisely because the founder and others involved with it have said for years that it will finally do something, and it hasn't done anything. And I mean, from a technical standpoint, the blockchain itself hasn't done what they've promised that it should do. So I'm not surprised that the price isn't doing what everybody expects it to do. It's just moving sideways. And in fact, it's in a downward channel right now. Let's take, oh, I'm looking at the wax. I was looking at the wrong chart the entire time. I was looking at the wax chart right there. That's the one that's ranging sideways. But Cardano. Okay. Yeah, no, Cardano is in a downward channel. Yeah. Cardano is in a downward channel. There was that spike on wax. There was no spike on Cardano. In fact, Cardano just had a dip. Oh my gosh, guys. Woo. Wah, 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 wah. That's brilliant. Okay, now we got to take a closer look at Cardano. So I can't possibly mess up this chart. Alrighty, opening up just the Cardano page. That was great. Market cap is still strong, of course, on Cardano. They're at $90 billion. How do you get $90 billion and not deliver any smart contracts when your entire reason for existing is to deliver smart contracts? Man, I got to get into blockchain. I got to like propose some new project and say like, we're delivering next generation smart contracts for supply chain and Internet of Things. Invest. Just keep a straight face for 6 years, I guess. You get $90 billion. Ugh. David is saying September 12th is the date for Cardano. Hey, I'm hopeful that it turns out. I'm hopeful that I'm proven wrong. I really am, guys. Just like with Chia. I'm hopeful that everybody here who's watching this, I hope you win. Especially if you're leveraged, right? I hope you win. I hope you don't get wrecked. I do. That's what I hope. Cardano, I don't get a good feeling about, though. So, yeah. Hey, handyman with the RoboCop quotes says, I'll buy that for $1. Great. So here we are on Cardano, though. And next to our gamer saying we expected a dip before the 12th. Okay. All right. Expecting a dip before the 12th. That works. Let's see. Trading volume, largely unchanged. Let's go to our 7-day view. Again, take a look to see what that is. Nope. 7-day actually has shifted quite a bit. So there was a recent pumpening, I think, upon the announcement, right? That was about the time that we heard the date mentioned, right? Wasn't that the date that Hoskinson mentioned, September 12th? Or was it a little bit before then? Yeah. 2nd of September, saw pumpening upon him dropping that little date, like, all right, September 12th. Boom. See a pumpening, and it's tapering off since then. Yeah, Cardano at $3. Oh, wow, it's been a while then. Yeah, Nextera Gamer is reminding me that it was on August 27th, so I'm off by a bit there. So, yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm not cautious. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I have no exposure to Cardano, right? So I have no skin in the game. I don't want to say anything mean, because I don't have any skin in the game either way. So I don't want to go tanking somebody else's prospects here, or trying to shoot down somebody else's rocket ship if it does wind up taking off. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything actually be delivered. And I see that some people are like, oh, hey, check it out. NFTs on testnet. I'm like, all right, cool. That's a testnet. Does that actually mirror what the architecture will be for the mainnet? Because when they try to apply smart contracts the way that Ethereum has them to a UTXO model, the way that Bitcoin has them, there are some hard limits that they're going to run up against. It's a very difficult problem to solve. They haven't convincingly solved it in a mainnet environment in 6 years. That's a long, long time. It's a really long time. So I struggle with believing that it's definitely going to be taken care of in the next little while. Gordon Murray says Hoskinson's YouTube rants are great, though. Hey, I agree, man. A lot of his rants are great. And of course, he rants about like everything except the pace of development on Cardano, right? So yeah, if that's the one thing you're not allowed to criticize, then I wonder why that is. Limitless Combo says, I missed this. Says for Solana, the market cap versus ADA makes it make sense. NFTs on ETH are costing people large transaction fees. FTX, which runs on Solana, are starting their own NFT market space. Yeah, no, Solana, I get it. I do. I get it. Solana is like, it's amazing and it performs well. Now, guys, on BitBoy's show, I talked about Polygon and Solana. Polygon, I really like because it's a sister chain to Ethereum. It runs on proof of stake now. It allows for scaling, right, and really low fees versus Ethereum right now if you're very close to the Ethereum ecosystem, right? A lot of stuff ports back and forth very well, bridges back and forth very well, very easily between Ethereum and Polygon. But Polygon is not Solana, right? Like you're saying, right? Like what Limitless Combo is saying here, Solana is very high performance and it's got a lot of throughput and it's also in production right now, right? It works today. We're not waiting for some future date. We're not waiting for somebody to say like, okay, this date and then that date and then this date for 6 years. And then, oh, look, a giveaway and an announcement of an announcement of an announcement of an announcement of an announcement. Nah, man, it just runs now. You can build on it today. There's no waiting. So I get that. I do. Yeah, Solana makes sense to me. But so does Polygon, right? As a miner, Polygon makes sense to me because I got those really low fees as a miner right now. If I could take payouts on Solana, I would. Sure. Do they offer them? Is there a pool that offers payouts on Solana? So, just saying. David says, I love your face and opinion on ADA. Hey, appreciate that. Thank you. So, let's see. Limitless Combo says there was ADA FUD about functionality of ADA with DeFi, etc., but ADA says it's a non-issue. FUD spread regardless. Whether true or not, I don't know. Yeah, right? So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that the transactional throughput is FUD. I think that's confirmed. And I personally also don't think that they're going to be able to hit some arbitrary deadline that Hoskinson said. I think that what he's saying there is FOMO, right? They're two sides of the sentiment coin, right? And there needs to be something balanced. Gordon says, Hoskinson said Cardano will be here for 50 to 100 years. He didn't say it would take 20 years to develop, though. Yeah, good point. Yeah, false advertising. I think that they're trying their best, but I think that they need to be more forthcoming about what they can and can't deliver right away. And they need to give somebody a working mainnet like now. Like people need a mainnet. The fact that Hoskinson even mentioned on Twitter that he was interested in Solana tells me that Solana already has a superior product to what they've been able to replicate in testnet. And so, like, don't be shocked if something drastic changes in Cardano that looks an awful lot like a rebase to Solana. You heard it here first. And it's not a shock, right? Like rebasing to something like Solana and then adjusting to create a different programming language, and so that you're not stuck with certain kinds. Like as it is, the testnet. So the testnet code that came out of Cardano recently was running on Solidity 0.5. It's an ancient version of Solidity. It's a joke that they would even release something publicly, that they would even allow the main developers' names to be written to something, like to be put on something that runs a totally out-of-date version of Solidity. It's just bad, guys. That's not FUD. Those are facts. It's not FOMO either. Those are just facts. They literally used Solidity 0.5. Why? They don't have answers for it. They're not talking about it. They're not talking about what's broken. And I feel bad for influencers that are trying to shill it because they still have heavy bags of Cardano. I don't see it working out well, guys. And I'm sorry, because I know some folks in the audience are like, but Seth, I got bags of Cardano and they're doing okay. And I did better than when I bought in. And seriously, I want you to win. Which is why I think it's probably more responsible for me to just warn you than to wait to see somebody in my audience get wrecked. So Yeah, Next Era Gamer says, I doubled on ADA regardless. I still hope it hits higher. Bro, I would average out a little bit. That's just me. That's just me what I would do, not advice. I would average out at least a little bit. I would take some of that. I would secure the bag. And I would find something, because if you took that double that you got from ADA and you had dropped it into Solana, even now, you might have doubled it again, right? Like you might have still been able to ride that Solana rocket ship. So throwing it out there. Zotrack says, but I wish it ends up being something. I agree. I hope it doesn't amount to nothing, but I think the only way for it to not amount to nothing is to rebase to something that already works and then innovate on top of that, right? Like maybe change the smart contract language or something on top of that and build some new functionality as an abstraction layer for programming, right? To take the Turing completeness and make it generally more useful by giving programming hooks and tie-ins for other people to develop outside of just Solidity. So maybe, I don't know. I'm spitballing here, guys. I don't want to talk too much about Cardano. It's not the Cardano show, but because you got me going, getting me to start talking is not the hard part. So I'll close that chart right there. Proof of stake smart contracts, Solana just still slaying. Terra doing all right. Phantom, which I added to the list after just like finally discovering it was totally off my radar. It's also just destroying everything else. Avalanche is doing well. It had a bit of a setback, but it's still on an upward trend. Wax is doing awesome because of its work in NFTs. And then Cardano, I think, is going into an appropriate downward channel. I don't think it's appropriate for Cardano to continue to pump, other than the recent news that something was going to launch. And then when it launched to basically no fanfare, because they were using an ancient version of Solidity, and because they found that even on this most recent trial and demonstration, right, exhibition of their current snapshot of development, it ran super slow. People were understandably spooked, and the price has started to correct downward again. Yeah, I don't think it's looking good for Cardano. Next Era Gamer, you just caused Cardano to pump. Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, son, I'll take it. I'll take credit for it. Let's look at the chart closer. I'm not going to look at micro pumps over the last 7 days, though, when that 7-day growth on everything else. Cardano's up 3% in 7 days. Phantom is up, 20 times that. Solana, more than 20 times. Solana's up 20 times that. Yeah, I think the last 7 days they've been a very interesting time, guys. Very exciting time for some of these coins. What I will say is that my long shot pick here, right, guys? Hot take for a long shot. Hot take for a long shot is still Polygon. I still think it has some legs, in the same way I've been telling you guys for weeks about Haven being maybe not correctly priced. I think that Polygon can probably, I think it probably has its all-time high left in it. So yeah. Limitless Combo says Chia's Bram Cohen said Chia works similarly by saying Chia resolved this issue already. I mind Chia, by the way, but if it's true, Chia needs way better marketing for anything they actually do. Yeah, and they need to attract developer talent that actually cares. Because when you talk about like, oh, we're more green because we use hard drives, and you have all these other coins like Solana that say, yeah, no, we're actually more green because we use proof of stake, and it's still secure. I don't know which one's more green. Using hard drives to mine, or using proof of stake? Not here to pick winners, but as far as narratives go, the proof of stake narrative is pretty powerful. It's gotten a lot of mind share over this bull run. So I don't know. I see it doing better. Like, look, in this particular area, Ethereum is not even proof of stake yet. It's promising to be proof of stake, and it's not doing as well as the ones that are actually proof of stake. So, and they don't seem to be having massive security problems yet. They probably also do have problems with centralization. So there's that. I'll say, guys, for right now, I'm excited to see what Pulse Chain has to offer in the midst of all this because of decentralization. Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see if it actually is less centralized. I've got problems with the way that the origin address wallet of Hex donated so much or sacrificed so much to be able to get such a large controlling interest in Pulse Chain. We'll see how that actually winds up playing out. But maybe no better or worse than the others. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, moving right along from the smart contract portfolio, let's take a look at our chart real quick, guys. This is dope. We got Bitcoin breaking through. No more playing just the tip. Finally broke through. And right here are chopsticks, so we can move them into a different channel. Our 50-day moving average did not break the 200-day. See that? We successfully bounced off the 200-day, came back up, and we're continuing in that sort of like bullish sawtooth pattern up while bouncing off the 200-day moving average. That's pretty awesome. Zotrack says Ethereum is becoming rare as Bitcoin, with the burnings offsetting rewards a lot and high constant demand. Yeah, Ethereum's doing great, guys. Ethereum is still the home of DeFi. Solana it's capturing a lot of market share and covering a lot of ground really fast. I would not blink. And I'll say that within Ethereum, again, if you want to stay close to the Ethereum ecosystem, Polygon is capturing a lot of market share as well, at least in terms of total transactional volume. And with TVL, right? Total value captured, total value locked. Polygon is doing really well at keeping people who want to be on Ethereum close to Ethereum in a scaling solution. Not a true layer 2, but they're adding rollups, right? They're adding true layer 2 capability within Polygon. And so you've got millions of transactions per day on Polygon, actually more than are happening on Ethereum. And then you are ramping up towards that amount with Solana as well. So I'm struggling to see, at least from me, and I talk about it, I talk again about not picking winners here. But frankly, if you're asking me like my gut level opinion, right? My gut level response about what could be a winner here, Solana seems like a very good bet. And same with Polygon, because they're running fast now. So yeah, that demand on Ethereum, I see a lot of it going to Polygon. That's like native to Ethereum. 1-inch DEX, right? It supports Polygon. You got Matcha that supports Polygon. Now you have a new Uniswap clone in QuickSwap that actually has more transactional volume than a lot of the others combined. And it's Polygon only. It's not even L1 Ethereum. So there's a lot happening there. Limitless Combo says Ethereum fees are insane. I'm in NFTs and tried DeFi liquidity pool. Not regarding impermanent loss. The transaction to input and output from Uniswap costs $200 a day each, $200 each way. Yeah, right. Try that on 1-inch DEX on the Polygon network, or try that on QuickSwap, right, on Polygon. That same number of transactions for liquidity pairing is going to cost you fractions of a cent on Polygon. Yeah, even if you just wanted to bridge your assets over to Polygon and do your liquidity pairing there, it'll still cost you less. And then even if you wanted to bridge back from Polygon over to Ethereum, it'll still cost you less than committing all the liquidity natively on Ethereum right now. So yeah, I'm struggling to see how Polygon does not eventually come way up because of that, because of what it's offering to you and me, right? With native Ethereum assets that we mined, right? Like specifically Ether, and then tokens that we traded for, or that we want to trade for on Ethereum. I just see a huge value for us in GPU mining. So looking at this upward channel, I'm just going to adjust our chopsticks real quick, guys. And yeah, last couple of wicks down, and adjust our tops right there. We'll call it an ascending triangle. It's not quite right. I'm just going to box it in right there. Hey, yeah, David saying ETH is not rare, unlimited supply, dog chasing its tail. Yeah, no, you're right, it is. But what's valuable about it though is that all of DeFi is running on it. So I agree. It's hard to make the case convincingly that Ethereum is actually rare and that's what makes the Ethereum network valuable. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's the fact that so much runs on top of it. It is the value of the network itself and the number of users and the total value locked. But it's not the token Ether that's rare. So that narrative going to it's ultrasound money. I don't get that, man. I don't know why any of the ETH maxes are trying to chase that. Because like you're saying, that would be a dog chasing its tail. Like, oh yeah, we're going to become ultrasound money. We can do it this time. Yeah. Whereas like Gordon is saying, it's the ecosystem, bro. Yeah, do you even DeFi, bro? Get some Ether, bro. And like Gordon's saying, if the Ether NFTs are rare, that's actually kind of true. They're higher value. The ETH bros actually spend a lot on NFTs natively on Ethereum, and they don't spend as much on other networks. Figure that one out. Our chopsticks, if we are in an ascending triangle, we're just going to say our chopsticks show us 53.5. We'll see if we'll see if this tapers out. We'll see if this corrects or moves. It may already be reversing right now. We'll see. But if we keep that, who knows? Maybe we get to see 53.5 by the next time we live stream here, guys. Whew, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit tired. I've actually done some recording today already, so I'm like, my voice is like tired. I'm tired. Go watch a show with the kids. Actually, I'm gonna get up at 5:15 in the morning, so maybe I should just go to bed. Maybe. Well, guys, I appreciate you being here with me live. I'm going to leave you with that. I'm not going to do a comment selection for our NFTs just yet. I think I'm going to come up with some other kind of mechanism for us to do the giveaways. I think that the comment pickers are not my favorite thing, but I appreciate you guys being here all the way to the end, hitting that thumbs up button, clicking subscribe if you're not subscribed, and the bell icon. I mean, it's free. You get to hang out with people who are going to answer your questions, not just me, but if you ask questions, I'm going to answer them on stream too, right? We can talk, have a conversation. So why not? It's free. You'll know when I go live when you click that bell icon. Thanks for sharing this video. It really does help. As you guys know, a lot of content can be hard to find. This is one of those channels, so really appreciate you doing that for sure. Guys, you're the reason I make this media. I love your face. Remember to stay private and mind your biz. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you want to be notified of videos like this in the future, first off, click subscribe, press the bell icon. Additionally, you can sign up for the Mind Your Biz email newsletter. That'll give you exclusive access to certain freebies, notifications for deals within the cryptocurrency mining space, as well as some of our flash sales for merchandise, which you can buy with cryptocurrency. That's right. It's the only cryptocurrency merch that you can buy with cryptocurrency. We practice what we preach. As always, thank you so much for watching. You're the reason I make this media. I love your face, and I will see you in the next one.